How many of you last night, well, actually this morning, when you got out of the shower and you started drying off, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in hypnotic rhythm. Did anybody catch yourself that way? That's great. If you can find when you are in that hypnotic rhythm, and we can kind of protect that gate, right? And make sure we're letting in the right things, but we're learning this process. I love seeing that. Later on, I'm seeing these little things happening in my life. I'm like, oh my gosh, what Russell's saying is exactly right. So I love seeing that. Now, we've talked so much, by the way, about this whole idea of being a go-giver. And what does that mean? Right? We've done it in breakouts. We've done it in the group at hangoutwithrussell.com. But what does this mean for your audience? We talk so much about, like I said before, these 2 Common Club awards and the impact awards, right? And everything else is the 2 Heart Award and having that impact. Let me just ask a quick question though. How many of you, let's just be real. How many of you want to make a lot of money from your funnel and from your one-to-many sales presentation? Raise your hand. All right, I see you. That's good. All right, good. Now, how many of you want to make some impact from that as well? So we should have 2 hands up. Everybody should have 2 hands up because these go together. All right, I love this quote right here from Zig Ziglar. We can pull this up. He says, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. Now, how does that apply here? If you will go and help other people get what they want, find out what result they need, and then you provide a framework and sell it to them in the one-to-many sales presentation, you can help them get what they want, and in return, you're going to get what you want. That, folks, is the whole idea about being a go-giver. And I am 100% convinced that the fastest way to get that impact, to get that income that you're looking at in life, is by having a one-to-many sales presentation that converts. I love this. This is so much fun. And speaking of being go-givers, you have done such an amazing job at hangoutwithrussell.com and putting in these comments and all of these ahas. And I want to share a couple with you right now from yesterday and from the last session. Earl Daly says this, note to self, don't speak after Russell in an event that he is pitching at because half the room will be gone for your presentation. True story, Earl. All right, another one is Josette Mandela. She says, your presentation is designed to show them that your way is the only way to get the results they want. Oh, I love that. Matthew Frost says, show them how every other vehicle isn't as good and how you've solved it the best way. And I've got 2 more. One is from Bill Glenn, and he says, transformation comes because of the transaction, right? We don't have to be scared to sell this. That's how we're going to make the difference and be a real go-giver, is giving them that transaction so they can have the transformation. And then Porter Sneed says, mistakes are expensive. I love that. So many quotable quotes here. So make sure that in this next session, I'm going to introduce somebody right now. Russell mentioned that you're going to be hearing from a billionaire today. So as you listen to this next presentation, make sure that you continue to drop those ahas in hangoutwithrussell.com, in that community. Just keep those coming in. We love seeing these brain explosions. And I also see it still today. I see when you are having those aha moments. I love to see it. Russell's watching on this back wall. Sometimes when he's up here presenting, when he's done, he'll walk to this back wall. And you know what he's doing? He's looking at each of you and he's watching to see how you're responding to some of these things that are being said. Or if he pushes to another session, he's watching the chats. He's watching the comments. So if you remember, what's Russell's second favorite love language? What? Physical touch, we can't all touch him, but 2 is words of affirmation. So right there in hangoutwithrussell.com and also in the chat here, make sure you're doing that as well. Now, let's get back to this billionaire. How many of you right now have a dream, but at the same time, you think maybe you're not worthy of it or you haven't taken enough steps to get there? Anybody feel this way? Right? Jamie Kern Lima also felt this way, but understand, she is the CEO and co-founder of a cosmetics brand called IT. And this eventually sold to L'Oreal, a lot of you know that name, for $1.2 billion. She is literally a billionaire, but it wasn't always that way. She started as a waitress. She had setbacks over and over. So just like you, she knows what this is like. And we need to get into this mindset, right, of understanding that even if the path is hard, right, that we can do this. It's like the moat that McCall talked about. This is going to qualify you to beat everybody else. So when the going gets tough, what are you going to do? Keep dropping those ahas into the group, and let's turn it over to Jamie Kern Lima.
When I talked with Russell on the phone about what I was going to, share in our time together today, I was super prepared to get really granular with business tactics, and so we were talking about it. And he said, you could do that, but what's even more important is how do you figure out how to believe in yourself, right? How do you figure out how to believe in yourself? Because here's the thing. When you are someone that, maybe you have clarity on your vision, right? If you're one of the rare ones that has clarity on your vision and what you want to do, right away, you advance to this subset group of people that might have a shot at making your hopes and dreams come true, right? That's if you have clarity, right? Then, right, you take another step and you take action, right? And you get the business tactics and the tools and you start taking action. You're now in an even more small, rare group of people that might have a shot at making your biggest hopes and dreams and wildest successes come true. But that's not enough. It's not enough, right? The next step of that is, do you actually believe they're possible for you? Right? And if you can figure out on your journey how to do the work and how to actually truly overcome all your self-doubt, all those things, and believe your success is possible for you, you're now in this teeny tiny group of people, right? There's so many people out there with big hopes and dreams, they never get to that first part of clarity. They definitely mostly never get to that second part of action and tactics and tools. And then think about how few, right? For me, most of my life, I never got to this spot of believing it was possible. When I was a Denny's waitress, which I love that job, by the way, when I was a Denny's waitress, I knew I was meant to do something different with my life, but I didn't yet believe it was possible, right? And so many of us never get to that spot. But then, once you believe it's possible, it's still not enough. Right? It's still not enough. I'm going to go really deep today, right? By the way, I told Russell I'm going to title my talk, Hacking the Funnel That Is You. And he just got silent on the phone, so I don't know what that meant. But I'm like, okay, so we're going to go deep. Because I believe once you get to that spot where you believe it's possible for you, it's still not enough, right? You have to go to that final secret ingredient of believing you're worthy. Believing you are worthy of your greatest hopes, wildest dreams, and the success in your life. Because if you don't believe you're worthy of it, you'll almost surely never get it. But even if you do get it, you lose it or you sabotage it, right? So, when you see the highlight reel of, or if you ever Google my story, they'll always say like, oh, Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company. And it looks like that's the story, but the real story is a girl who went from not believing in herself to learning how to. And feeling like, I don't believe in me, and it feels like at times no one else did, right? And learning how to believe in myself, but then also how to believe I was worthy of these huge God-sized dreams on my heart. So today, if you are up for it, we're going to go a little deep on this. We're going to go a little deep, and we're going to talk about hacking the funnel that is you, which just might be the most important, I believe it is the most important funnel of your life. So, for some of you, I don't know if you're like me, but the time I was a little girl, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. Like, I used to sit in my living room and watch Oprah every single day, which, by the way, makes that video that just played insane. I can't even process it yet because my entire life I could never have imagined that, right? Until I could, and until I went on the journey of those 4 things that I just described. But I always thought like, oh, I'd watch her every single day. And I thought one day I want to share other people's stories with the world, right? I just knew from the time I was little. And so I did all the jobs, pushing grocery carts in the parking lot and slicing meat in the deli and waitressing at Denny's. And I eventually landed in what I thought would be my dream job. And I was anchoring the news. And I thought, like, this is it. Like, okay, I'm going to do this and move into a talk show. And I'm here and I made it. And what I didn't realize was I was about to enter one of this greatest seasons of setback in my life, of self-doubt in my life. And And what I know for sure, what I believe for sure, maybe someone in this room needs to hear this today, is our greatest seasons of setback in life are really almost always actually setups in our life for what we're called to do, right? For what we're supposed to do. They just don't feel like it at the time, and we don't see it at the time. And so I was anchoring the news, and all of a sudden I was live on the air one day, and I hear in my earpiece, I'm anchoring, right? And you can't talk back. You are live. And I hear in my earpiece from my producer, there's something on your face. There's something on your face. You need to wipe it off. You need to wipe it off. And I knew in that moment what it was. I have a skin condition called rosacea. So in the video, you saw some of it. It gets really bright red and bumps. I get like bumps all over my face. And what was happening live on the air was the makeup was breaking up. If you imagine like a desert clay and the cracks in it. So it started to look like that with red coming through. And so my producer was like, there's something on your face. You need to wipe it off. You need to wipe it off. And so during the commercial break, I glanced down at the compact and I'm like patting it everywhere, trying to cover it up, and it wouldn't cover. So after that day, I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. And I started on this mission of just trying products and, the drugstore ones, the department store, everything out there, the professional lines, and nothing would work. And I was like freaking out because I thought I was in my dream job. And every single day I would go to work in this deep season of self-doubt where I'd be live on there, and you're supposed to be happy and like sharing the news and all the things and interviewing people. And the whole time I'd be live, half the time I would be hearing from the producer, it's still there, it's still there, it's still there. And I'd be talking and I would start to have thoughts like, am I going to get fired? Or am I losing ratings for the station right now? And this sort of like season of self-doubt went on and on and on. And one day, and I bet you each and every one of you in this room has had a moment like this, and I bet you it's led to you being in the room today. One day I had this like gut feeling, this like thought, like, well, wait a minute. Like there's hundreds, probably thousands of makeup companies out there. Like if you can't find anything that works for you, there's probably a whole lot of other people out there that have the same challenges. Like, what if you just like create something that works for you, and if you can figure that out, it'll probably help a whole lot of other people, right? So I got this sort of like random, like where you are right now isn't where you're going. Like where you're at right now isn't where you're supposed to be, even though I thought I was in my dream job. And what happened is two things, okay? I kept getting this gut feeling like, you should do this, you should take this risk and start it. But then in my head, maybe you've had this happen to you, in my head, I was like, oh, but you're not qualified, you got no money, you know no one in the beauty industry, like all the things, right? All the self-doubt, I see a lot of you nodding, all the self-doubt that gets so loud in our head, and we start to not trust these feelings that we have in our gut. So for a long time, my head talked me out of what my gut or my heart was telling me. So I kept going in the news, and I couldn't shake that feeling, right? And I know you'll hear from other speakers at this event and maybe books you've read. A lot of people talk about making sure you identify your why, right? And I just want to share this really quickly. I think identifying your why often for what you're doing, right? For the businesses you're building, for the mission you're on with your teams, for the thing you're leading every single day, for the reason you wake up in the morning, for the reason you dive into work and choose work over partying and all the things that so many of us do when we're building. Identifying your why and thinking you're there with it often isn't enough. It is so important to peel back the layers on that why and get so deep to the why beneath the why. And usually, by the way, it's tied into that step 4 of worthiness I was talking about. The why beneath the why that's so powerful that it keeps you going when times are tough. It keeps you going when money is not coming in. Keeps you going when your friends and family are like, what are you doing? You're hacking a funnel? Is that with like an oil funnel? Like, is it with cooking? Like, are you crazy? All the things, right? So many people say, you're doing makeup? You know what I mean? So, but the why has to be so deep. Here's what I mean by that, okay? What got me from going from I have a gut feeling to I'm actually going to go all in was this why. And here's what I mean. It wasn't enough for me to go, oh, I want to launch this product and solve my own problems and help a whole lot of other people that probably have the same problems. That wasn't enough for me, but I wanted to do those things. But if I had shared that with other people and said, my why is that I want to solve my problems and I want to help so many other people who have skin challenges, the world would have celebrated that. My friends and family would have said, oh, that's great. And I would have thought that's enough. And so many entrepreneurs, because I've now had the blessing of meeting tens of thousands of entrepreneurs, so many get to that place in their why and they stop and they don't realize it's not deep enough and powerful enough to keep them going. So early on in my journey, I wasn't ready to give up what I thought was my dream job. And it hit me one day, the why, right? It wasn't, oh, I just want to create a product and solve my problems. I realized, like, wait a minute. Why is there hundreds or thousands of beauty companies and none of them will work for me? This doesn't make any sense. And then I realized, wait a minute, from the time I was a little girl, I would watch those commercials the beauty commercials on television or flip through the magazines, and I freaking loved them. Like I aspired to look that way. I loved watching them. But deep down inside, they always made me feel like I wasn't enough. And I had this moment where I realized, of course there's not a product that works for me. I've never seen a woman with bright red rosacea and bumps all over her face showing a makeup product. And I was like, what if I could figure out how to create something that is awesome, a product that works? But what if it's bigger than that? What if I can, like somehow in the whole beauty industry, right, use real people as models, and this was not being done at the time, like real women every age, shape, size, skin tone, skin challenge, and call them beautiful and mean it, and what if I could help shift that definition of beauty in the whole industry, right? For every little kid out there who's about to start doubting themselves, and every grown person who still does, right? And so that why was so deep and meaningful, right? And it mattered, right? And I knew, that's when I knew. And even though I thought I was in my dream job, and maybe so many of you have left jobs to be doing what you're doing right now, but I believe that sometimes knowing when to let go of a dream matters as much as knowing when to go after one, right? And I made the decision to turn down the volume in my head of all the things saying like, you're unqualified, you're not enough, you don't know what you're doing, you have no money, all valid points for the most part, and turn up that volume on that knowing, that gut feeling, and that deep why, right? So on my honeymoon flight to South Africa, wrote the business plan for IT Cosmetics, got back, quit my job. My husband and I poured all our savings, which wasn't much, into this idea, this dream. We poured it all into the product. And by the way, if any of you guys have started a business or you're in a working relationship right now with a partner or a family member or a friend, raise your hand. Woo, okay, this is half the room. Okay, you're going to understand then what I'm about to share. So, yeah. Okay, so we went all in. And what I didn't know was, from the second we went all in, it would be over 3 years before we could afford to even pay ourselves a penny. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of no's. And one of the hardest journeys of that, I've never even said this out loud, by the way, even explain this whole thing, but my journey really is those 4 steps that I open with today. And I believe that's every one of our journeys. And from the moment we launched in this business and went all in, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, because I could have never gotten to a place of believing it was possible and believing I was worthy of it without going through the whole journey, the whole 4 steps. So we went all in and literally started 100-hour weeks, which a lot of you guys are familiar with, in our living room. Poured every penny into the product, and I thought, okay, we worked with the best chemists and third-party manufacturers. We finally had a product that worked for me. And I'm like, this is huge. This is going to revolutionize the industry. And I started sending it to all the big beauty stores, all the big department stores. Every single one of them said no. and I would use my own before and after, right? And this is before YouTube. But my own before and after with bright red rosacea and showing how the product works. And they would say, people won't buy makeup from images like that. They'd always give me this feedback. You have to use unattainable aspiration. Always. And I'd be like, well, maybe people are tired of buying stuff from images that they can never look like, that aren't even real, right? But that was the feedback over and over and over and over. So after getting rejected from literally every department store, every beauty store, over and over and over and over, and I would stalk LinkedIn and find everybody that worked there. Like, it didn't even matter what department they were in. I'd send them a product, send them an email, like all day long. It's all that I did. And after so many rejections, I finally was like, all right, you know what? We're going to go direct to consumer. They're going to spread it. This is too good. We're going to go direct to consumer. And so, but here's the problem. We had no money. We couldn't hire anyone to build a great website. Definitely couldn't hire anyone to build a funnel. Didn't know what we were doing. And, for those of you that have started what you're doing right now from scratch, or you're part of a startup from scratch, you'll know you pretty much have to figure out how to do everything, even the stuff you don't know how to do, right? So that's the spot we were in. And so at the time, there was no book called Traffic Secrets. And we couldn't afford to hire anyone to build our website. So my husband went out and bought that big yellow book called HTML for Dummies. That huge yellow book? And he literally built our first website. And I'll never forget, you guys, the day our site went live, I thought this was going to be like the biggest day of my life. Like a little kid on Christmas morning, I was freaking out. And our site went live, and I was like, this is going to be it. And that entire day, not a single order. The next day, no orders. The next day, no orders. And finally, I said to him, what's so easy to say if you work with a partner or friend or family or loved one, I'm like, it's broken. Like, you did it wrong. Like, there is no way. Like, this product is so good. Like, there's no way people just aren't buying it. Like, it's definitely, the site is broken. So this went on and on and on, no orders, days, and then weeks, no orders. And the very first day our first order ever came through, literally it came through, and I was like screaming at the top of my lungs, running around. I'm like, so freaking excited. And he comes up to me and he says, that was me. He goes, I placed that order to prove to you it's not broken. And I was just like, oh. And this went on and on and on. And I finally would get like a big meeting at Sephora, which is this huge fancy beauty store. And, one time could barely afford the ticket, flew into their corporate office and got one of the most brutal no's I've ever gotten in my life, and like left in tears. And it was just on and on and on. And I found myself in this spot where my gut kept telling me I'm supposed to do this. And everything around me was saying, you're wrong, including my own head, right? And I finally got word that the head of QVC wanted to have a call with me, the head of QVC Beauty. And for those of you unfamiliar with QVC, it's a live television shopping channel, and they're broadcasting to 100 million homes. And I always had this dream, like this vision, right? I was like, okay, you can't Photoshop live TV, at least not yet, and I could get on air and I could show, like I could take my makeup off and show live the product works, and I could prove it, and I could put real women and all ages and shapes and sizes and skin tones, and I could prove how this works. And I just like saw it, when you see something so clearly. And every single time I sent them a product, it was a no, every time. Finally, the head guy, Alan Burke. So if you imagine like Anna Wintour in fashion, Alan Burke is like that in beauty. He's a legend, right? He's responsible for turning QVC in the old days where they would sell like cheesy products and they'd be like, freaking out, like, buy, like a knife set. And they're like, buy now. And you're like, ah. And like, they probably would have sold the potato gun, actually, the potato launcher. But he turned it into a whole different thing where all those fancy, expensive department store brands sold on QVC. And he built the beauty division to this multi-billion-dollar division, and he wanted to have a call with me. And I'm like, Alan Burke? Like, there's no way he would get on a call with me and waste his precious time unless he's like interested, you know? And so I got on the call that day and I was like freaking out and pacing around the office, which was our living room. And I was like trying to tell myself, like, they'll be lucky to have us, like all the things, right? And so then, and so we get on the call and he's like, you know, Jamie, this is Alan Burke with QVC. And I'm like, Alan. And he says, listen, we've reviewed your products, all of them, because I sent so many to every person in the building for 3 years. And he said, he goes, and we met with all the buyers. He's like, I wanted to tell you directly, it's unanimous. You're not the right fit for QVC or for our customers. And when he said that, first of all, like I went right into pitching myself again. I'm like, oh, but Alan, I am the right fit. And I was like telling him all the reasons why. And I was hoping he couldn't sense like tears are streaming down my face. And he thanked me for loving QVC and said it's a no. And that day, I literally climbed under my covers. We're a few years in to hearing hundreds of no's. And I don't know who in this room has been hearing a whole lot of no's for a long time, or trying a whole lot of things and they're just not working, or feeling like you're on the right track right now and you're supposed to be doing what you're doing, but nothing around you is giving the evidence that you're right. It was a season like that. I mean, and it was a few years. And I remember that day climbing under the covers and just crying. And I remember praying and being like, I don't understand why every time I pray, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this. My gut is telling me this. My knowing is telling me this. But all these experts I'm so tempted to put on pedestals keep telling me it's never going to work or that I'm not the right fit. And so many of the no's, you guys, it wasn't like, oh, come back later. It was like, no, not now, not ever. Like, you're not the right fit for our customer. So you hear this so much, right? And it is so important never to let anyone else's doubt about you turn into doubt inside of you about yourself, right? And I remember climbing under the covers and just crying myself to sleep. And then if you've ever had bad news and you wake up the next day and you hoped it was a dream, and then it wasn't, and you relive it over and over. And I remember one day I wrote in my journal, know your why, then fly, girl, fly. And I read those words every single day until I didn't need the reminder anymore. And I kept going and I kept going. And then, you guys, I got a phone call that was one of the most life-changing phone calls I've ever received. I got word that this huge private equity company wanted to talk with us. They'd gotten hold of our product and they wanted to have a meeting. And I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, because they're super, super well known. They've taken all these small unknown brands and made them into these big companies that so many of us like shop for in grocery stores or wherever. And I was like, oh my gosh, if they invest in us, A, I'm not going to go bankrupt. And B, like, what if they use their leverage to get us into all these stores that keep telling us no? So I was so freaking excited, and my husband and I flew up for meetings, and we did meeting after meeting after meeting, and we went into the diligence phase. For any of you guys that have sold your company or will sell your company or ever want to, when you get into the diligence phase, it's where they start looking at all your books, all your numbers, your whole product pipeline, your future projections. We got to that final stage. And I was like, this is going to be life-changing. I wanted it so bad. And I thought that this was going to save me. And we flew up for the final meeting. And the whole team was there, and they were amazing. And we got to the end of the meeting, and the head guy, he was standing about 3 feet from me. My husband was right next to me on the other side. And I was like, just waiting. You know what I mean? Just like so excited. And he was like right here. And the head guy says to me, congratulations on your product. We think it's an amazing product and everything that you're doing. But it's a no. We're going to pass on investing in IT Cosmetics. And I was like, okay. By this point, I was so used to hearing no, right? And so I said to him, well, can you tell me why? Because feedback is usually a gift. I was like, can you tell me why? And he was right here about 3 feet from me, and he got really quiet for a while. And I was just like waiting, and I remember feeling my heart beating in my ears for some reason, because I started like freaking out, like, why is he so quiet? And he looks at me and he says, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I was like, yes, please. And he's literally 3 feet from me. And he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And when he said that, first, I never actually felt any anger toward him or anything, but when he said that, it was like a lifetime of body doubt and self-doubt, like flooded my body all at once. And when I was looking at him straight in the eye, I remember it felt like I was looking at my own fear straight in the eye, right? But something happened in that moment, and this is why I'm sharing this story with you. Because every single one of us has moments like this in our life. Every single one of us has had someone look us in the eye and say, I don't believe in you, or you're not enough, or I don't love you, or it's not you, it's me, and you know it's you. All the things, we've all, right? And so often we're the ones telling ourselves that, right? When he said those words to me, and he's literally 3 feet from me on this side, and he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. I am not kidding you. I remember it like it was yesterday. He said those words to me, and I got this feeling so strong. I could feel it like it was yesterday right here that said, he's wrong, right? Like I felt it. And I didn't know how to prove it. I had nothing to back me up at that point. I didn't know how to prove it, but I felt it. And when I think back on this moment and why I think it was one of the most important in my life is because what really happened in that moment was he gave me a no, but God gave me a knowing, right? And whatever you believe in, God, the universe, your creator, whatever it means for you, I believe every single one of us have a knowing. I believe our gut is always more powerful than anyone else's advice. And I believe in every situation, and by the way, getting no's, getting rejections, getting things, this still happens to me every day of my life. Every day, even right now, every day of my life. And I believe that whether you listen to the no, in whatever form it comes in, or your knowing, right? Whether you listen to the self-doubt in your own head that says you're not enough, or you're knowing that if you really get still and listen to you says you are made more than enough, you know that. So I believe that your life, your business, your relationships, the chance of you achieving your wildest hopes and dreams comes down to which one you listen to. Do you listen to the no, or do you listen to the knowing? And sometimes, right? And sometimes it's easier to see these things in someone else than it is in our own lives. And so just think about for a second your friends, your family, the people you love, the people you work with. Like raise your hand if you know someone who's listening to all the no's instead of their own knowing. Raise your hand if you know someone in your life right now, or your family, or your circles. Yeah, right? And what happens when you listen to the no's over the knowing? You risk talking yourself out of your own truth. You risk talking yourself out of ever becoming the person you're born to be. To me, figuring this out is one of the most important funnels you can ever hack in your life. Figuring this out is so critical to making your business dreams, your leadership dreams, your team dreams, your family dreams, your relationship dreams, your personal goals and dreams ever come to fruition. This is the most important thing. And I just want to go deeper for a second. I wasn't planning on doing this. I hope Russell's okay with this, but I'm feeling something in this room right now, and I'm going to go with it. When you go a level deeper than this, for me, I remember a moment when I was 6 years old. And I want you to think about maybe you've had a moment like this in your life when you were a little kid. I remember being a little kid in the classroom. And I remember the first time I knew the answer and I didn't raise my hand. Right? Because for the first time I was worried, well, what if I'm wrong? Or what if I get made fun of? Right? What did Brendan say this morning? You're scared for people to see you start small, right? I remember the moment as a little girl when I was like, I knew the answer. but self-doubt set in. And what I was really doing was I was starting to hide in plain sight. And I just want to go deep on this for a second, because when we let the no's and the self-doubt and all the things we tell ourselves about ourselves in our head, not in our heart, not in our soul, not in our gut, but in our head, that I'm not enough, this, that, the other thing, right? It gets so loud that we end up starting to live our lives hiding in plain sight, right? So stay with me here for a minute. And Russell, I know this wasn't planned. Here's the thing. One of my favorite quotes says, you can't be anything you want, but you can be everything you are. But when you're hiding in plain sight, there's no shot at ever becoming everything you are, right? And what do I mean by hiding in plain sight? Well, it's easy to describe it as a little girl not raising her hand in the classroom or a little boy not raising his hand in the classroom. But today it might look like you're the leader of your entire company and you guys are crushing it, but you know you have real innovative big goals, but you're not going for them because you're going to play it safe. That's hiding in plain sight. It might look like you're still in a job because it's safe and your family approves of it, but it's coming at the expense of your soul. That's hiding in plain sight. It might look like you're on a Zoom with your team and you have this crazy idea, but you don't share it because there's still that part of you that thinks I might be wrong or I might embarrass myself. That's hiding in plain sight. It might look like you're out in the hallways at Funnel Hacking Live and there is that hot guy or that hot girl and you're like, want to go up to them, but you start doubting yourself. That is hiding in plain sight, right? There are so many ways. You can be not just introverts, extroverts hide in plain sight just as much as introverts. For extroverts, it is so easy to walk in a room and entertain everyone else, and they don't actually know what's going on with you and what you're struggling with and what your dreams really are. You're hiding in plain sight. And when we live our lives this way, we actually never step into our full power. We never step into our full calling. We never step into the person we're born to be. We never get to that final step. So I just want to take a moment, and if you guys can grab a pen and paper. I'm just feeling something right now, and I'm going to go with it. Can you grab a pen and paper? And I just want you to take a moment. I want you to write down one way you're hiding in plain sight right now. One way you've been hiding in plain sight in your life. And I'm not going to call on anybody. I'm not going to read anybody's answer. This is between you and you. So I want you to get really honest with yourself. Because today we're hacking the funnel that is you. And I wish I had 8 hours to do that. But we have a few minutes together. So I want you to go all in. And think about this. One way in your life you've been hiding in plain sight. I see some of you crying already. One way you've been hiding in plain sight. And this may be for years you've been hiding in plain sight with this. One way you've been hiding in plain sight that maybe is creating so much self-doubt in your life. It might be that you're supporting everyone else's dreams and you're hiding from your own. It might be that you helped 25 people with a book launch, but you know you're supposed to write the first page of your own book. It might be that one of the people you love most in your life, you haven't said, I'm sorry to, or I forgive you. One way you're hiding in plain sight. And now, Russell, I know this wasn't planned. I want to go one step deeper, okay? While we're here, one step deeper. This is between you, and I really want you to be so honest here. The next thing I want you to write down, what in your life so far, what has hiding in plain sight or your self-doubt already cost you? What has hiding in plain sight or your self-doubt already cost you in your life so far? No. I'm going to stop making eye contact, or I'm going to start crying too. So many of you crying. You guys, this is such an important question. What is hiding in plain sight, or your own self-doubt already cost you? It could be in your career. It could be in your calling. It could be in the reason you know you were born and put on this earth and you haven't stepped into it yet. Maybe you know you're made to be an artist and you haven't created in many years. What does it cost you in your relationships? What has it cost you? All right, we're just going to go one step deeper. I want to go 8 hours, but I'm going to respect Russell Brunson. It's my first time. He may not ever invite me back already. I'm going to go one step deeper. The last thing I want you guys to do is I just want you to write one way you're going to either stop hiding in plain sight today or take action today, or when you get home from Funnel Hacking Live, one thing you're going to commit to doing, okay? To stop hiding in plain sight. One thing. One thing. It might mean spending a bunch of time writing your why out, and your why for your business might have nothing to do with your business. Your why for your business might be that you're going to be a generational cycle breaker in your family, right? When you go deep and you figure out what is that thing that's going to keep you going in the hard times, that might be one way you're going to stop hiding in plain sight. It might mean tonight you get on the dating app, right? You're like, all right, I'm back on. Like, no more hiding, right? Or you go up to the person in the lobby, right? It might mean you message Russell Brunson and say, I want to speak on stage at Funnel Hacking Live, right? Go for it, right? What is that one thing? It might be that right now you're going to glance down, on your page and write the first word of your book. Maybe that's it. You're going to make me cry. Okay, I got to stop looking. I got to stop looking. Right? What is that one thing that you're committed to doing? And I want you to write it down. You learn from Brendan Burchard, from everyone else. When you write things down, you retain them. When you actually move your body, they take root. So write down the one thing that you're going to stop hiding in plain sight over, the one action you're going to take. It could be small. It could be sending a text right now saying, I'm sorry and I love you. It could be making the decision to forgive someone, not to say what they ever did was okay, but to forgive them so you're free. One thing. And when you're ready, and if you're able, I want to make sure that this really takes root. So when you're ready, and if you're able, and I want to get back on track to what I was going to talk about. Can everyone stand? Just take a minute, stand, and I want you to cheer for every single person in this room at Funnel Hacking Live for the way right, turn to the person next to you and say, stop hiding. Okay. Whew. All right. So, I'm standing there. Oh, they're making out. Makes me so happy. I love it. Okay. So I'm standing there, and this dude 3 feet from me says, I don't think women are going to will ever buy makeup from you, from someone with your body and your weight, right? And I never actually did get angry. I went out in my car, cried my eyes out, but I remember so many times, y'all, going back to that moment and literally having to intentionally turn down the volume on my own doubt and turn up the volume on that feeling, on that knowing, right? Turning up the volume on that knowing. And we can do this every single day of our lives, right? It might be simple things like you are out to coffee with a group of friends and something feels off with someone. Just trust it. You know what I mean? Different ways. You're dating the dude and he keeps saying his phone's breaking and you know he's lying. We all have that knowing, right? And trusting it is so important because here's what happens, right? You're launching your business, you're building funnels, you're doing all these things. You're looking at the whole thing Brendan drew this morning, and you're going to sit in a room and talk about, okay, what are the words we're going to use for our brand to talk about how what we're doing matters? And you're going to have a bunch of people on your team debate it. And you, no matter if you are the boss, the leader, or a team member, you got to share your gut and stop hiding in plain sight and start contributing. And then you as a leader have to trust your gut on making the decision for your vision, even if it's not unanimous, on how to make every decision with your company. And when I look back, that's I did so many things wrong, you guys, building at Cosmetics, but that's one of the things I did right was every time I felt that knowing, even if it was unpopular, even if no one else agreed, I made the decision to trust myself. And that's where your power is in almost everything that you do. So after that really, really, really hard no, I kept going, and I'm going to cut over a whole lot of stuff and a whole lot more no's. And I ended up, a year before all this, I'd entered us in this big beauty expo where imagine like a convention center like this one, and there's thousands and thousands of beauty companies from all over the world. They get together once a year, and you demonstrate your product. You're at a table where you're demonstrating. You get 3 feet. You're not allowed to leave it. And I was there with It Cosmetics, which no one had heard of. All these other brands were there from all over the world, the biggest companies in the world, the products I used to save my Denny's tip money to buy. And I was there demonstrating. And the reason you go is you hope you get discovered by a buyer, or you hope you get an award because everyone votes, and then you get press. So I'm there like demonstrating, and I see in the far background, QVC has this giant booth. And I'm like, oh, they've told me no 1,000 times, but I've never met anyone in person. And so, but you're not allowed to leave your booth. You're not allowed to leave your booth. And one quick tool I want to share with you, one of my favorite business tools, I used in that moment because I couldn't afford to get kicked out of the thing, right? I had no money, but I knew I needed to go for it. And the quick story behind this is my closest group of friends are so diverse, like every faith, no faith, X-rated, like all of them. But they all have good hearts, right? Good hearts. And one day in New York City, I was with one of my closest friends who is a super conservative, really strong Christian. She taught me how to pray many years ago. And we're in this gift store. She doesn't swear, can't say that for myself, but we were in this gift store, and I hear her howling in laughter. I'm like, what is it? What is it? She's howling in laughter. She's like, you have to see this squirrel. And you guys remember those big posters, like in gift stores, and you'd flip them and look through these giant posters, and then you hang them on your wall? She's like, look at this squirrel. It's fearless. It's a fearless squirrel. It's like you and me. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I go over and I see this poster. I'm like, yep, that's a fearless squirrel. And this squirrel became our alter ego and one of my favorite business tools. And when my friend was up for her own network news show with her name on it, That day of her interview, her final interview, I'm like, you're the squirrel. You got this. Like, you go in there, you're the fearless squirrel. And this was like our alter ego. And so that day, I'm at the 3-foot booth. You're not allowed to leave. And I'm like, I've got to channel the squirrel. I've channeled it many times since. I want to share it just in case someone else needs this business tool. So can we share the squirrel with everybody? So, so I'm at this booth and I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to leave, but sometimes in life, you just got to swing them. And I like went and I'm like, I'm the squirrel, like I've got this. And I go over and I like pour my heart out into this buyer. She already knew who I was because I had sent so many products. But it went really well. I was thinking, and she said, she gave me her card and said, like, let's have a meeting. And I thanked her, and I left, and I didn't know if she meant it, right? Have you ever had anyone say, like, oh, like, let's connect on Instagram, DM me, and then, like, I still have this happen sometimes. Then I'm in my DMs on Instagram. I'm like, nope, they haven't. You know what I mean? So I didn't know if she meant it, and she did. And we flew out. We had a meeting at QVC, which is in Pennsylvania, and we got our very first yes. So, but then, what I learned this meant, y'all, oh my goodness. So what it meant was I got one shot. I got a 10-minute segment. They were going to give me this 10-minute segment, one shot, and it was consignment. Okay, what that meant is I had to ship in all the product, pay for it, manufacture it, etc., do all of that, and then go live on the air. And if it didn't sell, I'd have to take it all back and not get paid, right? Which would have meant we were bankrupt. So I learned quickly. So at the time, we were doing 1 to 2 orders a day on our website. That did work. And I learned we had to bring in 6,000 units. I had to sell over 6,000 units of our product in a 10-minute window to hit their sales goal or not come back. And you should never, ever do this, right? There's that saying in business, never take a purchase order you can't afford to lose. But at this point, it was like we were down to under $1,000 in our company and personal bank account combined. It was all one. And that meant we had a few more weeks. Like, we had to keep barely getting by. And I was like, we just decided to go for it. We applied for SBA loan. 22 banks said no. One small bank in California gave us an SBA loan to cover the amount for that first purchase order and a little bit more. And what I didn't know is I was about to learn one of the most powerful lessons in my whole career. And what I mean by that is on this journey to getting this one shot on QVC, we hired these third-party consultants, which are amazing, and they help so many people sell their products in stores and on television. Every single one of them said the same thing to me, and they wanted me to win, and they all said, here's what you need to do to win. You have to put this type of model on TV, right? Which was all like perfect skin, same skin tone, the same age, and I'm just like, I get that's what's always been done, but like that's not why I created this product. And I'd say to them, what if I put like a model in her 70s and another model with acne and every size and age and skin tone, and what if I take my own makeup off and I show live how it works? And they were mortified, like mortified. And we would argue about it, and I found myself in this situation again where I was finally getting a shot this time. And still, my gut was telling me one thing, but everyone else was telling me another. And it was a moment of which one do I listen to? And I flew out to QVC a week before our one big shot, and I sat in this parking lot in a rental car, all alone, praying, crying. Like, my self-doubt was getting so loud, and I was tempted to do it their way, right? Like, I'd have thoughts like, well, maybe I'll try it their way, which is inauthentic to me, but maybe I'll do it their way, and then if I make money, then I could try it my way. Like, I had all those thoughts. But what I believe then, and I know to be true now, is you cannot fake authenticity. You all see someone showing up on social, and you're like they're doing something, and you know it's not them. You feel it. People feel it. You cannot fake authenticity. And while authenticity alone doesn't automatically guarantee success, inauthenticity guarantees failure. But when we are hiding in plain sight, that is really hard to step into, right? And I remember sitting there in that car. Really, I didn't even have these words for it then, but what I was really doing is asking myself, am I going to hide in plain sight, right? Am I going to step into all of who I am, even when so far everyone tells me that's not enough? And isn't that one of the scariest questions we can ask ourselves in our life, in any area of our life, right? And I had this moment in that car where I was like, I'm going to go live staring at one camera to 100 million homes. I'm like, who am I speaking to? And for whatever reason, I imagined this single mom in Nebraska who was like folding clothes and way too busy to remember she's beautiful and that she matters. And I just had this moment where I'm like, if she's going to turn on her television and give me 2 seconds of her precious time, I'd rather her see me up there showing women who look like her, calling them beautiful and meaning it, even if she buys nothing, than sell a whole crap load of product and stand for nothing, right? And I had that moment, but it's scary, right? It's so scary because so often we know when we are living our lives as all of who we are, but it doesn't mean it's the easy way to do it. And I remember walking in that studio and there's this 10-minute clock, right? So right now on the floor, I see a clock. It's just like that. It's a 10-minute clock. And then, y'all, I learned you're not guaranteed 10 minutes. If you're a minute or two into your presentation and you're not hitting numbers by the second, your time cuts. So you think you have 10 minutes and you think you have, I have 8 minutes left. If it's not doing well, boom, the clock turns to a minute and you just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in my case, I'd be bankrupt, right? So I learned that day, and I went in there and I had this whole demonstration like I'd done it in my bathroom mirror a million times, where I show on my wrist how our product doesn't crack and the top 2 department store ones do, and I was showing it. And I wasn't nervous for television, but it was the pressure of the business. I was freaking out, like sweat was pouring. I had on double Spanx, 2 pairs of Spanx, not because I cared how I looked. I wanted to absorb the sweat so it didn't go through my dress. And I was like trying to do this demonstration and my hand was shaking because I remember the 10-minute clock started and it was like 9:59, 9:58. And I was trying to do this and the host was like, "Thank you, sugar." And she put my hand under the podium and I was like, "Oh." And then she took over. And I remember the moment my bright red, bare-faced before shot came up on national television. And I remember walking over to real women, every age and shape and size and skin tone and skin challenge like I have, and calling them beautiful and meaning it. And I didn't know how we were doing, but I knew I wasn't cut yet. And literally, it was like at the 1-minute mark, the host started saying, "The deep shade is almost gone. The tan shade is selling out." And I'm like, and then at the 10-minute mark, this giant sold out sign came up across the screen. And I literally, yeah. And I started crying on national television, and then they cut from me and went to like Dyson vacuum or something. And I remember and I remember my husband came rushing through the double doors of the QVC studio, and I'm like sobbing. I'm like, "Real women have spoken." And I thought he was gonna give me a hug or something. He's like, "We're not going bankrupt." And I was like, "Ah." And that one airing turned into 5 more that year and 101 the next year, and eventually over 200 shows a year. And we built the biggest beauty brand in QVC's history. And it is to this day, the biggest beauty brand in QVC's history. And I only share that because it was years of no's, right? And I don't know who in your life is telling you no, or you're not the right fit, or it's not gonna work, or you don't have what it takes, or I don't wanna work for you, or I don't wanna date you, or whatever it might be, right? It was years of no's. And then all of a sudden, we built the biggest beauty brand in QVC's history. And then all of the stores that had told us no, right? Eventually, I could talk for 8 hours on how this all happened, but eventually every no turned into a yes, right? We got into the department stores, into Ulta, into Sephora, and we grew to over 1,000 employees. And then, you guys remember Alan Burke, right? The head of QVC Beauty who said, "You're not the right fit for us or for our customers." So after we launched on QVC, he ended up becoming a really good friend and one of my greatest mentors. And he is to this day. And then shortly after we launched, he retired. He'd been there decades. He retired from QVC. And we hired him in a paid position on our advisory board. So the guy that rejected me was now working for me. Like, what? Right? No one can tell you that you don't have what it takes or you're not the right fit. They can tell you, but you don't got to believe them, right? No one can tell you you're not the right fit. And here's the thing that I learned is, and I don't know who needs to hear this today, but every one of the things I'm about to share happened to me is on your journey, you might have people that tell you you don't have what it takes or call you weak, but then one day they call you strong, right? You might have people say, oh, he's just a good guy, or oh, she's just a mom, she's so sweet and meek, and then one day they call you mogul, right? They might say that you're crazy. What are you doing at this funnel hacking thing? Do you have benefits? Why don't you get a really good job? And then one day they call you genius. Right? People might say you're too young, or you're too old, or you're too tall, or you're too short, or your skin is too red, or your body's not right, or you didn't go to the right school, or you don't come from the right family. And then one day, they're telling people how they met you. Like, I've had this happen, right? You might have people that call you rejected. They say you don't have what it takes. You're unqualified, right? You're rejected. And then one day, they just might end up calling you boss. Right? So no one, whatever those words are that you're hearing all around you in your life right now, it is so, so, so important you turn down the volume on them. And sometimes, again, you're the one telling yourself those words in your own head, right? One of my friends, Miles Adcox, always says the greatest journey we're on as human beings is that 18 inches from our head to our heart, right? And really, it's that journey I opened with. Right? It's how do we turn down the volume on all of those things, the self-doubt, and turn up the volume on our knowing, right? And one thing I want to say, and then I'm going to close and wrap up, is you would not be here in this room if you weren't one of the brave ones. Right? One of the brave ones willing to go after your dreams, one of the brave ones willing to learn more, to try harder, to build more, to step into all of who you are. And when you're one of the brave ones going after your dreams, you're going to have to get really good at cheering for yourself. Because what I've learned is so many people cheer for you and cheer you on after you've made it. Right? And so I just want to take a moment, and then I have one more thing to say after, but I just want to take a moment, and I just want to get in really good practice of this, and I just want everything that you're writing down and thinking about to take root. So can we just take a moment? If you're able, can you just stand and cheer for yourself? Because if you cannot do it in this room, how are you going to do it outside of this room? Cheer for yourself, okay? And everyone around you, everyone over here, over here. Cheer for everyone in this room at Funnel Hacking Live. Everyone in the middle. Everyone here. Yes. Cheer for everyone over here on this side. And the dreams they have on your heart. Yes. All right. Here's the thing. We grew and we grew and we grew. And I'm going to cut this way short, but I had this vision of partnering with L'Oreal one day so that I could take this vision global really fast. I could do it on my own, a lot slower. I could scale way faster partnering with them. A lot of people don't know this, but they said no to me for 3 years. 3 years of meetings, and they said no. And until they didn't. Until they didn't. And a lot of people also don't know they made me an offer I could have never imagined. So much bigger than I could have ever imagined. And after years of saying no, sometimes the way God works and divine timing is after they said no for 3 years and made me this crazy offer finally, all of a sudden, we got a bunch of other offers at the same time that were bigger. And so I said no to L'Oreal. And I only knew how to hear no. I didn't know how to say no. So I'm like, no, no, like, right? It was hard to say it. And then they came back with a way bigger offer. And in 2016, they paid $1.2 billion cash to buy this company that I started in my living room. And here's what's crazy, y'all. Rejection, right? I did a whole thing with Oprah on rejection. Your relationship with rejection, right? When you change that, it changes your whole life. That's a whole nother talk. Funnel Hacking Live next year. Okay. Sorry, Russell. He's going to pull me off stage in a sec. Okay. But it's so important, your relationship with rejection. And here's the thing is, the day that L'Oreal announced they're a public company, the day they announced it was their largest acquisition in U.S. history for them. So they're public, so they had to disclose the purchase price. And the day they did that, it was everywhere, all over the Wall Street Journal online, the homepage, everywhere. And it was the first time in 6 years I heard from that investor, the potential investor that said women wouldn't buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. I heard from him for the first time in 6 years, and he said, congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong. And have you guys ever seen the movie Pretty Woman, where she goes in the store and they won't help her? So what I wanted to say to him at the time was, big mistake. Huge. I can give you 1.2 billion reasons why. It was a huge mistake, but I didn't. I kept it classy. I wouldn't have wanted to be him that day. And you know what? I don't think I've ever shared this on a stage before, but I'm going to share it real fast before I step off, is that, y'all, his rejection hurt me so bad. I wanted him to believe in me so much. I thought that would be the yes that would save me. Had he believed in me that day, I was so desperate, I probably would have given him the majority of the company for nothing, right? Because he didn't believe in me, the day I sold to L'Oreal, I was the largest shareholder. You know what I mean? And so sometimes in our life, I believe in thanking God, not just for the open doors, but for the closed doors, right? Even when they don't make sense to us at the time, or even when they hurt, or even when they feel like rejection or personal. And so, yeah, it's been a crazy journey. We grew and grew, and the first 2 years post-acquisition, as CEO of the company, we doubled the size of it after they bought us the first 2 years, and just grew and grew and grew. And then about 2 years ago, I knew I was called to serve in a different way, and so stepped away, wrote my first ever book, donated 100%. I'm donating 100% of the proceeds of that. And this year, I'm funding world-class leadership training in 100 prisons, and I'm just trying to pray for clarity and go where I'm meant to serve. And so when Russell asked me to be here today, I was honored, because I felt like this sort of instinct that, and I don't know who this is, but that someone in this room, what I shared today is for you. And I felt called to be here. And I just want to say that, in closing, that so many people say, how did you start with close to nothing and build a $1 billion business in your living room? And yeah, I worked really, really, really hard. And yeah, I got back up every time I got knocked down. And I learned to listen to my knowing and trust it over all the no's. And I built a team that is so incredible and so much smarter than I am. And I did all that. And I learned to, really, really believe in those in the journey, right, of what I called hacking the funnel that is you, because to me that's everything, right? When you go through that 4-step journey. So how did I start with close to nothing and build a $1 billion business in my living room? I made the decision, even when I didn't know how this was going to happen. I made the decision to believe that I could. And I made the decision to believe I was worthy of it, right? And my hope and prayer for every one of you in this room is, when it comes to your goals and your dreams and the huge things that you know are on your heart in this lifetime, that even when you don't see a way, and even if today your self-doubt is so loud, my hope and prayer is you decide anyway to make the decision to believe it's possible for you and to believe you're worthy of it. And I believe in you, and thank you.
Welcome back. How awesome is Jamie Kern-Lima? I hope some of you had some ahas. We actually were just looking at hangoutwithrussell.com. So many ahas coming in. I love it. Keep those coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. How many of you right now, though, feel like even when you're under pressure or when things don't go your way, that you can keep moving forward? Was that helpful? Oh, I love that. And keep in mind, there will always be resistance that keeps coming. And there's certain things that you can do over and over and over to stay in that state. And one of the things that we're going to talk about right now is some frameworks and some specific ways that you can actually get your presentation in front of a lot of people. How many of you feel like, oh my gosh, even if I had a presentation that was dialed, how do I get that in front of people? How do I actually execute this? Well, this is going to be really, really fun today because Russell's going to show us, he's going to come on and actually show us some of the number one funnel that he has used over and over and over to deliver his one-to-many sales presentation. This is the same thing that has taken, ClickFunnels from humble beginnings to where we've done billions and billions of sales processed through that platform. So what this is we call this virtual stages, right? Whether you're doing this live or anywhere else, you can actually do this within a funnel. So with that, are you guys ready to welcome back to the stage one more time, the man, the myth, the legend? Let's bring him up. Go crazy on camera for Russell Brunson. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Wasn't Jamie amazing? I could sit here and listen to her talk for hours or days and just be mesmerized. So anyway, so grateful to have her give that presentation. I hope you guys got some big ahas from it. I'm excited right now because during this session right now, we're having a chance to talk about one-to-many. We've been talking about one, right? All day yesterday about the one, figure out the one presentation. And now we're talking about how do you get the many? How do you get all of the people? How many of you guys, that's been the thing you've been nervous about? I think I can do what Russell showed us yesterday. I can do these presentations. I just want to do these presentations too, right? That's what we're going to be talking about. What's even more exciting for me is the fact that today, right now, this session, we're going to talk about my favorite thing on the planet, which is funnels. I am known as the funnel guy on the planet. There's nobody who's ever geeked out more about funnels than me. And I have a chance today to geek out with you guys a little bit about it because funnels are the way you get the many to show up to you. And if you do it correctly, the way I'm going to be showing you guys during this session, it's not going to cost you any money. In fact, you can make money by getting people to show up so you can give them a presentation. What? How's that possible? Stay tuned. You're going to find out. But before we do not forget right now, go to hangoutwithrussell.com. We just opened up a brand new group to drop all the ahas you get from the funnel building day right now during the session. So go to hangoutwithrussell.com. We'll pull it up behind me. Hopefully we got it here. Boom, aha moments, building stages and event debriefs. Going right there and start dropping in your ahas as they are coming. The faster they come, the better. Again, words of affirmation. I love hearing it. Please send as many as you can. It would make my whole day. So that's the game plan. Okay, session number 6 now officially is called Building Your Own Stages, right? A lot of people, they see Funnel Hacking Live and they see all the people on stage. And Ross, I want to be on your stage. I want to be on your stage. And every time someone tells me that, the thing I'm thinking in the back of my head is you know what? Build your own stage. When I got started, there weren't people that had stages they wanted me to be all over, right? It wasn't an easy thing. So how do I build my own stage? How do I get people to come to me so I can do this? That way you control your own destiny. And the funny, weird thing is after you have your own stages and you are putting other people on your stages and things start growing, then people see you and they're wow, I want to have Russell on my stage, right? As I grew my own stages, then more people want to be on their stages. So the number one thing is not if I could just get on Funnel Hacking Live stage or if I could just get on Grant Cardone stage, then people know who I am. It's no. Step number 1 is build your own stages, get your own following, then people will see you, and that's how you get invited to the big shows, right? So that's what it's all about. This is where you begin at. This is not step 12, it's no, this is where you start. Wherever you are right now, this is the number one thing is to learn how to build your own stages, okay? All right, as you guys know, the goal of this event so far has been number 1, figure out a level 10 offer. We crushed that yesterday, right? You guys all feel pretty good about your offers right now. Number 2 was figure out your one-to-many presentation, which was the core goal of all day yesterday, and I think you guys feel pretty good about that, right? Which is amazing. Day number 3 now is your virtual stages, aka your funnel. Now, when you take your level 10 offer and your one-to-many presentation and a funnel, you plug those things together, it's what puts you on the road to getting to your 2 commas worth of impact. Okay, now some of you guys have been commenting about what in the world is happening in this picture here with Russell and the lab coat and the weird funnel thing, right? So I'm gonna tell you guys a quick story. I had an idea one time for an ad. I don't think the ad actually turned out that good. It didn't convert that well, but in my mind, it was like, this is the greatest hook of all time. I was like, what if we figured out a way where we get a Coke bottle and we put a Mento in it and have it shoot up and then see if we can like get the stuff to fall inside of a funnel, and it was gonna be this whole analogy, it was gonna be amazing. And so I hired this team, they wrote the script. I don't think the script was great, but we rented an Airbnb, they put me in a doctor's coat, and we did the experiment. And do you guys wanna see part of the ad? Okay, and one thing to note, don't forget, I'm in an Airbnb. When you put a Mentos inside of a Diet Coke, inside of a house, we had to scrub the ceiling. So that's behind the scenes what happened. But anyway, here's a quick glimpse of part of this ad because it'll help you understand exactly what a funnel actually is.
Let me break it down for you. This represents potential revenue. And this represents how much money your online business makes. And this little baby is the internet. This is how much money you make on your own. That ain't gonna pay the bills. But you know what does lead to conversions? The almighty sales funnel. Okay, so this is an actual funnel, but the goal is the same. Is to get the most amount of things possible and bring them down to one single destination. And for you, that's the sale. That's at least 1,000% increase.
All right, this is reason number 5,000 why you should never Airbnb your house, because someone like me is gonna come and shoot Diet Coke all over the ceiling. Like, it was so bad. It was hitting the ceiling, pouring down, but the analogy worked, right? No funnel, no Coke got put into the bottle. Big funnel, lots of stuff got in there, right? And so that's all that funnels are, right? It's taking all the people. You think about a funnel, I always think about this. It's like, there's the entire world, like 8 billion people, right? And then from there's like 6 billion, let's say, on Facebook and YouTube, right? And from that, maybe 100 million see your ad, right? And from that, maybe 1 million actually click on the ad. They go to the next, so it's like, 8 billion, boom, boom, boom. Then 1 million people see your ad. From there, 10,000 people click on the ad. And then from there, my brain's slow right now. Then 5,000 people actually give you the email address. Then 3,000 people see the sales video, and 1,000 people actually buy the product, and then 200 buy the upsell, and one person gives you $1 million for your back end offer, right? Like, that's what a funnel is. So the whole world in my mind is funnels. That's what you guys understand. Like, and funnels are everywhere. People always ask me, Russell, what's a funnel? And a better question is like, what's not a funnel? Like, everything is, right? In this whole world. You guys are literally in a funnel right now. Welcome to inside of a funnel, right? We see this every single day happening. Like, everything around you is a funnel. And when you start understanding these funnels, that's how you can have success. Because right now you may or may not know this, but you currently have a funnel in your business. It's just probably a really bad one if it's not making you any money, right? So understanding this is like, I'm already doing these things anyway. How to do them correctly to get people from the internet to come down into my world so I can have the ability, the platform to do the one-to-many presentation, okay? All right, so this session is all about, again, we've been talking this whole day about, last 2 days about mastering one-to-many sales. Before it was about how to do the presentation. Now it's how we take that presentation and actually plug it into a funnel, okay? And just kind of recap from yesterday, while speaking on stages in front of 9,000 people is literally insane. What's even more insane is after you put it inside of a funnel, right? And like this one, for example, had over 42,000 people last month registering it while I was with my family at the beach hanging out. Like, that's the stage that you want to be working towards. That's what we're trying to do and to create with you guys, okay? All right, now just like my other presentations, we got some paradigm shifts to break in your mind to help you be successful. So paradigm shift number 1, the goal of all funnels is to present your one-to-many sales presentation. That's it, okay? People don't understand, they're like, what, like funnels do this and this. Like, no. The only goal of a funnel is to present your one-to-many sales presentation. Now there's different types of funnels, right? There's book funnels and webinar funnels and coaching funnels and challenge funnels and like all sorts of funnels. But the goal of all those funnels is the same. My book funnel, someone comes there, they watch a one-to-many presentation, me explain why they need to buy a book. Someone comes to a webinar, they're registering for a one-to-many presentation for me to sell them my course. Someone comes to a 3-day event, they're coming to watch a one-to-many presentation to sell a coaching program, right? Like, that's how the whole thing works, okay? So the goal of every single funnel is to present your one-to-many sales presentation. Now, for you guys who are all focused on level 10 opportunities, level 10 offers, right? Where typically we're selling a little more high ticket, anywhere from $500 to $10,000 or so, up to $25,000. Like, in that range, the best funnels to do that are these 3, okay? And again, there's more. Again, I'm obsessed with funnels. I can share with you 50 different types of funnels if we want to go deep, but I don't think you guys want to go deep on that. So I want to focus on just the 3 funnels that are most likely for you to be successful with your one-to-many presentation, okay? So one is a free challenge funnel, one is a webinar funnel, and one is a live event funnel. Okay, those are the 3. We're going to kind of break down each of those during this session and help you guys see behind the scenes what they are, how they work, and all the different elements that are important to be successful with these, okay? Okay, but again, the goal of every single funnel is just one thing only, which is to deliver your sales presentation. Okay, so to show you how all these, how we use all these funnels the same way, right? I want to come back to when we talked about the perfect webinar, right? I showed you the perfect webinar script and we broke it down into a couple pieces, right? So the first thing, again, is the map origin story, right? Then from there, we move into secret number 1, which is the map. Secret number 2, internal false beliefs. Secret number 3, external false beliefs, and then the stack and the close, right? So we mastered that yesterday. You guys understand it. You know how it all fits together. So now let me show you guys how this fits inside of different funnels, okay? If I'm doing a webinar funnel, right? Someone registers for webinar. I have 90 minutes with them. How do we break it down? Right? The first 30 minutes, I tell the origin and the origin story and the new opportunity or the map, right? Next 15 minutes, the internal false beliefs. Next 15 minutes, external false belief. Last 30 minutes, stack and the close, okay? So yesterday, we spent a lot of time focusing on the 90-minute version of this, which plugs perfectly into a webinar, okay? But let's say, I don't want to do webinar, Russell. I want to do a challenge. Okay, I love challenges too. So here's how we structure a free challenge. A free challenge is broken up over 5 days or 3 days, depending how you do it. But if you look at how we actually do it, each day of the challenge, we're taking part of the perfect webinar. Okay, for example, day number 1 is all about the origin and the opportunity, the map. Right? Day number 2 is all about the internal false beliefs. Day number 3 of a challenge is about the external false beliefs. Day number 4, we present the stack and the close. And day number 5, we do what's called a logical repitch. Okay? Same perfect webinar, but instead of spending 15 minutes on each of the different sessions, I spend about an hour. Most challenges about an hour a day, right? So day number 1, I'm spending an hour on this. Day number 2, an hour. So it's longer. Right? Gives me more time to tell stories, more time to break false beliefs. Okay? A lot of people love challenges because of that. Okay? So that's how you do a challenge. Now, if you can also take a 5-day challenge, you can smush it into a 3-day challenge, where day number 1, you do origin, new opportunity, and internal false belief. Day number 2, you do external and stack and the close. And day number 3, you do logical repitch, right? So it's the same framework. It just either extends or shrinks down like an accordion, right? It's an accordion where it grows and shrinks depending. Okay? Next one's the live event. Okay? In fact, right now, you guys are in the middle of a 3-day live event. How have I structured this? Okay, well, day number 1 of the live event is all about origin, opportunity, and internal false beliefs. Day number 2 is all about external false beliefs and the stack and the close. And day number 3 is all about a logical repitch, okay? Same presentation, but now plugged into 3 days. That making sense? Okay, hopefully you guys are starting to see behind the scenes. Like, it literally just the perfect webinar over and over and over again, okay? All right, paradigm shift number 2. When you build a funnel correctly, it'll pay for its own ads. Did you just catch that? If you build a funnel correctly, it'll pay for its own ads. Okay, this is the paradigm shift I need to break inside your mind, because right now, the biggest fear most of you guys have is like, okay, my funnel's done, but Russell, I don't know how to pay to get customers. I don't have any money to pay to get customers to come to me, right? How many of you guys is that your fear? If that's your number 1 fear, write in number 1 fear in the comments. Number 1 fear. I know that I can do the one, I don't know how to get the many because I can't afford it, right? How many of you guys? All right, yep, I know that's the thing. Okay, I've been doing this long enough now, that's people's biggest fears. They're so scared, like I can't pay to actually get customers. So what if you follow this process I'm about to teach you, and you built the funnel correctly, and then the funnel will pay for the ads, so you don't have to. How many of you guys would like that? Okay? I know right now it's kind of cryptic, doesn't make any sense, but I'm gonna walk you through how it works, and then it's gonna blow your mind. Okay, every time I explain to people, they're like, oh, that's how you grow your companies, Russell. I'm like, yeah, it is the secret. Everyone's got this false belief that's just, I gotta smash it. So I'm gonna be smashing it right now if you guys are cool with me smashing a false belief so you can be free, so you can change your life. Is that cool? All right, let's smash some false beliefs. Now to do this, you have to understand basic marketing math. Okay, it's not magic, it's literally math. Now, for those of you guys who all of a sudden got nervous, like, I'm not a mathematician, I am a moron when it comes to math, okay? But marketing math is really cool because you only have to know 2 numbers. These are the 2 numbers. Number 1 is called the CPA. No, this is not your accountant. Okay? CPA stands for cost per acquisition. How much money does it cost you to acquire a customer? That's the first number you need to know. And then the second number is ACV. Some people call it AOV, either way, but it stands for average cart value. So that customer comes into your funnel, on average, how much money do they spend inside the funnel? And those are the 2 numbers you have to understand. Okay, that's it. That's the math you have to understand. So let me break it down and walk you through how exactly that works, okay? So number 1, CPA, cost per acquisition. How much money does it cost me to get a customer to buy something inside one of my funnels? Okay, so I think about this. I think about Mark Zuckerberg because he basically runs, Facebook, Instagram, and most of the internet, eventually probably the whole thing, right? So the question is like, how much money do I have to give Mark Zuckerberg for him to send someone to my page, into my funnel, then have that person become a customer? Okay, that's the cost to acquire a customer. So for example, let's say I am promoting one of my books, right? Let's say Traffic Secrets. This is my book I'm selling, right? And I go and I give Mark Zuckerberg money. Let's say it costs him $20. And I give Mark Zuckerberg $20. He sends somebody, and that somebody comes and buys my book. That means my cost per acquisition was $20, right? I gave Zuckerberg $20. They sold the book, okay? If I give him $200, I'm gonna sell 10 books. Like that's the cost per acquisition, CPA. Okay, so that's the first number you have to understand, and that makes this whole math work, okay? Second number then is average cart value, okay? So what's gonna happen is somebody comes into my funnel again, right? And they go and they buy the Traffic Seekers book, but because this is not just like a Amazon listing page, this is the funnel, I'm gonna take them through a process. So someone buys the book, and this is what the funnel looks like, okay? They go through that, and then there's an upsell for the audiobook, and then there's upsell for the course, and there's 4 or 5 different products they can buy inside of the funnel, right? So there's a whole bunch of things they can be buying inside the funnel. Now, obviously, not everybody buys everything. That would be amazing if they did, right? But let's say everyone who buys the book, let's say 30% of the people buy the audiobook, right? So I'm getting an additional $37 for everyone who buys the audiobook, right? Next page, I sell a course for $297. Now, not everyone's gonna buy it, but let's say 10% of people buy the $200 course, right? $300 course, right? And then so on and so forth. And so the question is, what's the average of all the people who bought the book, on average, how much do they spend? That's called the average cart value. Okay, so those are the 2 numbers I'm looking for. What's my cost to acquire a customer, and how much do I make from all those customers inside of the funnel? What's the average cart value? Okay, those are the 2 numbers. So, you guys feeling good so far? You understand the math? Okay, so let me walk you through how to know if funnel's working, okay? If the cost to acquire a customer is less than the average cart value, so you spend $1 to get a customer, and I make $2, right? Notice in the middle of this image here, there's a big green smiley face. It means congratulations, you just broke the bank, right? That means I have a funnel where I put $1 in advertising in, I get $2 back out. If you're walking down the street and you found an ATM machine, it said insert $1, and you insert $1 and $2 came back out, what would you do next? You put $2 in, $4 come back out. You put $1 million as fast as you can, right? And money keeps popping out. That's what happens when you get a funnel where the average cart value, when the cost per acquisition is less than the average cart value, right? I spend $1, I get $2 back out. That's when Green's face, it's amazing, like run as many ads as you possibly can. Okay. Now the next one here, let's say you have a funnel where the cost to acquire a customer is the same as the average cart value. So you spend $20 to get a customer and you make $20. Okay. Notice the face is yellow. It's kind of like, that's okay. I'm not making money. I'm not losing money. I'm at break even, right? That's okay. Okay. But if that's the case, then my question is like, well, how do I increase the cost of acquisition? How do I decrease the cart value? What things can I tweak on the funnel to get it working? Okay? And the third phase is where the cost to acquire a customer is much heavier than the average cart value. I'm spending $2 and only making $1. And there's a big red face. That's when you see that, you stop buying ads. Okay? Now, people say, when do I stop buying ads? You stop buying ads immediately. As soon as I put $10 in and I make $2 back out, that's a bad sign. Big red frowny face. I had someone come to the office today. They came in and say, hey, Russell's my advertising doesn't actually work. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, well, I went and I spent $400,000 in ads. I'm like, well, how much money did you make back? They're like, none. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, I spent $400,000 in ads and didn't make any money. I'm like, what? You just kept spending it? Like, yeah, we were hoping it was going to optimize and work eventually. I'm like, you just stopped spending like $400,000? Like, if I put $1,000 in ads and I don't make $1,000 back, I stop. It means this is not good. Average cart value, CPA, like they have to be able to be profitable or else we stop, right? The coolest thing about this is like when I'm doing a one-to-many presentation, I start promoting it. I don't go spend unlimited money. I might spend $100 and see how much I make back, right? Then I'm gonna slowly scale it, okay? But if you're not making money, stop instantly. Don't stop after $400,000, okay? This is not, if you do this correctly, you should never be like risking a lot of money inside this process. Does that make sense? Okay. So let me walk you through Traffic Seekers funnel so you can see an example of the book in action, okay? So again, someone comes and they buy the book. From there, there's an upsell for the audiobook and for a $97 course. There's another upsell right there for the book set, another upsell, and then thank you page. So that's the funnel someone goes through. Okay. Now, if you look at this, when we first launched this book campaign, these are the ads inside of Facebook. So what's cool about this is you can see, okay, here's the ad. This one right here, it was costing me $12.48 to acquire, to sell a book from that ad campaign. This ad campaign cost $22.41 to acquire a customer. This one cost $15, so on and so forth. Okay. And so that's how much it was costing us to acquire somebody to buy the book. Okay. So take all those. Then when someone clicks on those ads, right, they're going to the Traffic Seekers funnel. And they start buying upsells and downsells. And when we launched this, on average, every single person who bought the book ended up spending $71.25. Okay, so what does it look like? It means we're spending $12, $20, $15 to acquire a customer. We're making $71. Okay, now if you have those numbers, you're spending, let's say, $20 to acquire a book customer. You're making $71. What do? You dump on as much traffic as possible, right? Russell, how did you become a New York Times bestselling author? I was spending $20 to sell a book. And I was making $71. So I spent $1 million. And we sold a lot more books than any other person on the planet. Like, that's how you grow and you scale a company, right? You see why I'm obsessed with funnels? I like tweaking and changing and making these little things, because the more I do that, the more they start converting and the more money we're gonna make. Now, this is the reality of what happens, okay? I wanna understand that this is, like, if I can coach you through this part of it, it'd be really important in the long term, okay? What happens when you launch a brand new funnel, what's gonna normally happen is the cost to acquire a customer, right, is gonna be, as I said, it's gonna be low, $20, $30, right? So the cost to acquire a customer is low, and then my average cart value, somebody makes me really high, right? So like I'm spending 20, I'm making 100, this is amazing. And this will happen, but then over time what happens is the ads will start to fatigue, because some people are seeing the ads, so it starts getting more and more expensive. So it gets from $20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, so it's just getting more expensive, right? And the other side, the average cart value, initially your warmest audience is gonna see it, and then as they start sending out further and further out, it'll get colder and colder traffic, and this start coming down. So what happens is you start watching it to the point where it gets from green, 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 to all of a sudden it's yellow, and then what do you do when it hits yellow? You stop buying ads, right? I don't wait till it's red and I'm bankrupt, okay? I start here where it's green. As it gets closer and closer and closer, it gets to the point it's yellow, I stop buying ads, and I make some tweaks. I make some new ads, which will hopefully drop it or drop the price, right? I start tweak the funnel, maybe add a bonus or something. I hook story offer, I add more of the offer, it increases it, and I keep going back. Now it's green, I drive traffic over time, it starts shifting. It gets yellow, I stop buying ads. Make some tweaks, I keep going, and this is the game, right? And I stay in the green zone. That way I'm never risking money, it's not costing me money. That's marketing math. Some of you guys think it's magic, it's math. It's a little bit of both, I guess. All right, so that's what I want to introduce you to this next concept, which is called a self-liquidating virtual stage. What if you could liquidate the cost of all the people who are coming to you for you to do the one-to-many presentation? That'd be pretty cool, right? I want to map it out. If you guys can pull the whiteboard up, we pulled it off earlier today because I kind of forgot that I was going to show you guys this thing, but if we can pull the whiteboard up, I want to map out how the self-liquidating virtual stages work, because when you understand this, like, it should take away all the fear and the risk of like, oh, I'm going to try this thing. What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't convert? And let's put it right in front of the stuff there. That way that'd be awesome. Okay. All right. Thank you guys very much for bringing the whiteboard. Okay. I'm going to map this out. So the first thing, I got a green marker here for you guys to represent money, all right? So this is money that we are going to give to Mark Zuckerberg, to Facebook, to YouTube, whatever it is, to go and to acquire a customer for us, right? So we have the dollar, and then from that dollar, someone's going to click on an ad, and they're going to go to our registration page to register for our one-to-many sales presentation, right? So it goes to a registration page. On the registration page, what do we have at the top? We have the same hook that's the hook for our one-to-many presentation, right? So we insert the headline or the hook right here for one-to-many presentation we figured out yesterday, and we tell them to register to learn what the secret is of this hook, right? So they go and they register for the webinar. From there, we take them to the second page in the funnel. The second page is called the thank you page, okay? Thank you page is basically like, hey, thank you so much for registering for my web class. It's starting next Wednesday. It's going to be amazing. I want to make sure you put it on your calendar. It's going to be awesome. But before you go, I want to make you a very special offer. Hook story offer, right? So making them an offer. Usually I have a video of me right here. You guys have seen these before. It's like, hey, what's up? This is Russell. Thanks for registering the webinar. It's going to be amazing. Here's the dates and the time. Don't forget it. But I have a special offer. Before you ship the webinar, I'd love to give you a free trial of the ClickFunnels. I'd love to give you a free copy of my book. I'd love to give you this e-course that you can go through before the webinar shows up. Something that I want them to consume and to purchase before the webinar actually happens, right? We call this type of an offer an SLO, a self-liquidating offer. Okay? What that means is when somebody buys this, you don't get to keep the money. That's not your money. That's Mark Zuckerberg's money. Okay? Somebody buys this thing, and then you give the money back here to buy ads, and you buy some more, and you buy some more. Okay, what happens is before the event even starts, you start making money. Before you ever do the one-to-many presentation. You guys know a big secret? Okay? A lot of you guys register for this challenge. I almost don't want to tell you this, but I'm trying to be the magician, show you guys behind the scenes, okay? So obviously you guys are in the middle of a 3-day live event, right? How many of you guys remember registering for this a little while ago? You registered for the tickets were $100, right? And then we had an upsell, right? Okay, the $100 tickets, the upsell, all those are for me is a self-liquidating offer, okay? I'm able to spend insane amounts of money to register people to come to this event. In fact, I made over $225,000 before day number 1 of this event even started from selling the tickets, my self-liquidating offer, okay? Guess how much money I spent in ads to get you guys to show up? Less than that, but a lot of money. I was probably $200,000 I spent in ads to get you guys to show up, okay? How do I fill in the event? How do I get the many to show up? I have to buy advertising. They come right here, but the funnel pays for the ads, okay? I spent $200,000 in ads, $225,000 I made back. I made a profit, and now I've got 2,000, 3,000, whatever the number actually is, of you guys who are here now, who I'm making a 3-day one-to-many presentation to, right? So before the event even started, I got my money back. How many of you guys are feeling kind of good? You're like, oh my gosh, that's how it works, Russell? Yeah, that's the secret sauce, okay? That's how we do this whole thing. Okay, every time I do a one-to-many presentation, the funnel will pay for the ads if you structure correctly through a self-liquidating offer, okay? All right, in fact, you guys can take the whiteboard off now. I'll pull back the slides. I just wanted to kind of walk you guys through that. So that's what a self-liquidating virtual stage is, right? And again, I call it a self-liquidating offer. This is kind of what's known in the industry. So there's a picture of it. We have an ad that goes to the registration page. After register, take the thank you page, and there we make them a self-liquidating offer. And then after that's over, then they show up and they watch either the webinar or the challenge, whatever it is. And during the webinar or the challenge, then you make the offer, okay? And boom, that's what a self-liquidating offer is, okay? That's the big secret behind the scenes. That makes sense, you guys? You guys getting this? You guys freaking out excited? Then wherever you sell in your 1-minute presentation, you keep all that money. That's all profit that goes into your pockets, okay? That's the big aha. All right, now there are a lot of funnels like I showed you guys. There's challenge funnels and event funnels and webinar funnels. My favorite funnel, and I'll tell you guys why here in a minute, my favorite funnel is a webinar funnel. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the biggest ones is the easiest one to test over and over and over and over and over again. It's hard for me to test consistently a 5-day challenge and do it over and over and over again. Harder for me to automate when I do perfect it. Webinar funnel, it's a 90-minute presentation. The funnel is the most simple of the funnels, right? And it's it's literally the funnel we use to build the ClickFunnels empire, okay? It's still to this day my favorite webinar or my favorite funnel. Now this is what a webinar funnel looks like. If I was to doodle out in front of a whiteboard to show you all the pieces, this is kind of what it looks like. Okay? Now for a second, it's gonna be, this is overwhelming, but it's actually really, really simple. So I'm gonna walk you through step by step, okay? So this is when we first launched ClickFunnels, okay? The very first time I ever launched it, this was the funnel I did. I'm gonna show you guys, it took me a while to go find these screenshots. This is from a decade ago, right? But these are the screenshots. So the very first page is the registration page, right? What did we do? I threw out a hook, right? This hook was literally the title of the presentation, okay? Same hook, hook story, hook story, hook story, hook story offer, okay? The very first hook, the hook that I used to be able to tell my Epiphany Bridge story was this. Here's the hook. My weird niche funnel is currently making me $17,947 per day, and how you can ethically knock it off in less than 10 minutes. Okay? So they see the hook, the headline, like, whoa, that's exciting. They register for the webinar. Then when they show up to the webinar, I'm like, welcome to the webinar. During this presentation, you're gonna learn my weird niche funnel. I'm like, so it's the same thing. The title slide of my presentation and the title of my webinar registration page is the exact same. Does that make sense? So if you guys did everything yesterday, you already have the hook for the headline for the reg page. Like that's already done. Okay, and then the page is very simple. Now, if you look at this page, you'll notice a couple things. Number one, it's all about curiosity. The higher the curiosity, the more people are going to register and the lower your ad cost gets. I had a really cool case study. I wish I had the screenshots of it here, but Mike and AJ are some guys in my inner circle who are amazing. And they came in one day and had this webinar that they were running. And they showed me the page, like, hey, right now it's costing us, I think it was like $22 to get somebody to register for the webinar, which is a lot of money, like $20 per webinar, right? It was expensive. And then they're only getting like 15% of people to actually show up. And they're like, the webinar's not working, it's a bomb, like help us rewrite the webinar. I was like, I don't think you need to rewrite the webinar. I was like, we just need to change the landing page. So I was like, right now, the landing page was it kind of just told people like, hey, you're gonna learn, I think the webinar is like how to learn how to use local reviews to grow a local business or something. And I was like, the problem with that is like, they see that, like, if they already know or they think they know, they already know that, so they're not gonna show up. If they're not quite sure, maybe they'll register like, oh, maybe I'll show up, maybe I won't, right? I was like, you need to give them so much raw curiosity, they cannot sleep at night, right? So we changed the headline from how to make money selling local reviews to the secret, I think it was like the big secret in the local markets you don't know about. And guess what? It's not Facebook ads, it's not Google, it's not SEO, it's not like all the things it's not, but we never told them what it was. People saw that like, wait, what is it? So what happened is people were registering at a much higher rate. So their cost to acquire someone to register went from $20 down to like $5, right? But then people registered and they couldn't answer the question in their head. There's so much curiosity. They had to show up. So they started booking on the calendar, made sure they weren't gonna miss it. And it went from like 10, 12, 15% show up rate to a 30% show up rate. Boom, 2 Comma Club funnel overnight. Right? Just little things like that. So these are the little tweaks you guys are gonna be learning from me over time is like to make a funnel work even more successful, okay? All right, so back to the slide. So page number 1 is the registration page. Notice it's simple. Other hooks on there, there's a picture of me in a sepia tone picture holding a website, holding my hand like this. Like, why did I use that picture? Because it doesn't make any sense. Right? I could have like Russell posing, like they're like, oh, there's a picture of Russell posing. Like they're gonna keep scrolling, right? They see that, it's like, what? What is he, what? I don't understand what he's doing, right? It's weird. Hook. Okay, visual hook, headline hook, get them to register, okay? And then they click on the button, it pops open, they get their name, their email address, boom, and they're registered, okay? Now, back when we launched this, we were using a webinar platform called GoToWebinar. Nowadays, we all use Zoom. Zoom is fantastic, okay? So when someone puts their name and email address in this ClickFunnels page right here, then it pushes them into the Zoom account, and they're now registered on Zoom for your webinar. Okay. After that, we have thank you page. Thank you page. I'm like, thank you so much for registering. By the way, before you show up, you should buy these things. I told them to buy 2 things. I'm like, go get a trial of the ClickFunnels and buy my copy of my .com Seekers book. So thank you page, I had them buy both offers. And guess what? A lot of people bought one or both those offers, and it covered the ad spend to get people into this funnel. Okay. Now between then, after they register, like let's say they register on a Monday and the webinar's not until Thursday, there's this time in between. So I was like, how do I make sure that they're paying attention? So we built out what's called Indoctrination Series. So what happened is that after they registered, day number 1, they got an email. It's like, hey, thanks so much for registering. Here's a really quick video. And so what we did, we made it a really fun video. This is my friend Mandy. Mandy is a life coach. She's amazing. She's one of my own personal coaches. She coaches my inner circle. And but she's not technical at all. I was like, the ClickFunnels was brand new at the time. Like, I want to show someone who has a message and a mission, but they don't know how to make a website versus a web designer. So I got Mandy, I got my buddy Chris, who's a part-time jiu-jitsu guy. And we actually, in this video series, me and Mandy, we drove to an octagon and just like making a fun video to keep people excited, right? Hook, story, offer. Here's the hook. And this is a story I was telling. Like, here's Mandy. We took him in this octagon. I was like, all right, ready, fight. And we have Chris, who's an amazing designer. We had Mandy. They're both sitting on a laptop inside this octagon and they're going and we're timing it, right? And that was video number 1. I was like, so I got all excited. And then day number 2, I'm like, here's the exciting conclusion. Find out who won between Mandy and Chris, right? And so the second part of the video, they're finishing, and within 5 minutes, boom, Mandy's entire funnel's done, and Chris is still working in Photoshop on the headline, right? I was like, this person's life coach is not technical. Destroy Chris by using this thing called ClickFunnels. Well, I'm gonna show you how, on the webinar, I'm gonna show you guys how to use this, and I'm also gonna show you my weird niche funnel, right? So I'm getting him re-excited, I'm indoctrinating him, getting him pumped up. And then the third day, gave him another email. So I had 3 emails going out, which is videos getting them excited about the webinar was happening, right? Otherwise, sometimes they register and they forget about it. So these emails get them fired up and excited. And then, boom, the web class happened. I delivered my one-to-many presentation, right? From there, I push people to an order form. Now they can order my one-to-many offer, and boom, there's the funnel, okay? Now, if they don't buy, I'll show you. We push people to replay, and there's other stuff. But for the most part, that's it. Registration page, thank you page, do the presentation on Zoom, send them to an order form. Boom, that's the funnel. The most simple funnel. It's so easy, so simple, okay? All right, let me show you guys another one. I'm gonna show you just another funnel. This is another one we did a little while later, but same model, okay? And if you ever register for any of my webinar funnels now, you're like, oh, Russell's like, he just copies himself. Yes, I funnel hacked so many times. I know every webinar funnel works. This is the secret. This is what they look like, okay? I have yet to improve upon this. When I figure out how to improve upon it, I'll let you know. But right now, this is the control. Okay, so webinar registration page. Here's the page. And then we had, obviously, they click on the button and it pops open. So here's this blow up of it, right? So boom, new hook, same presentation, new hook. Would you like me to hand you the exact blueprint showing you what the top 1% of ClickFunnels users are doing, the other 99% are not, for free? If so, register for the webinar, right? So they register, click up, boom, pops up, they put in their email address, adds them to Zoom. Now they've been registered for the webinar, okay? Next page, thank you page. What do I do on the thank you page? Thank you so much for registering for the webinar. So happy to have you here. By the way, before the webinar starts, there's a link down below to buy my self-liquidating offer. That way I don't have to pay Zuckerberg for you or your friends who are gonna come and watch the webinar. I don't tell them that part, but that's why I'm doing it, right? Okay, I get the money, I don't keep that money, take that money, dump it back into ads. Self-liquidating funnel. The funnel is paying for the ads. Okay, yeah, I gotta pay for the first ad, but then someone buys, I take that money, roll back in, roll back in, roll back in, boom, next thing you know, 2,000 people, 3,000 people are registered for the Selling Online event. Okay. After that, what do? There's a gap between the register and when they do the web class, so I create an indoctrination series. What I do in this one? This one was really cool, okay? I did video 1, video 2, video 3 each day, but what I did is I wanted to get them excited about the other hooks. Remember Perfect Webinar, we did hook story, which that becomes the hook on the reg page. And then we do hook story for secret number 1, hook story secret 2, hook story secret number 3. So I did this for my indoctrination pages because I didn't want to go rent an octagon again and everything, so it was a little dramatic. I just made a simple version. So I got my camera out and I recorded me saying, okay, now check it out. It says, get a sneak peek of secret number 1 of the Secrets Masterclass. And then what I did is I told them the hook. Secret number 1, I'm gonna teach you guys how to ethically steal over $1 million worth of funnel hacks from competitors for under $100. And I started telling about what I'm gonna tell about. So I don't tell the story. I tell about the story. During the first 15 minutes of the session, I'm gonna show you guys exactly how I launched my supplement company, how I took it and blah, 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 and I get them all excited. Like, don't forget the webinar is happening. By the way, if you haven't yet, go get a free copy of my book down below. And I made it another SLO. The more money I can get coming back in before the webinar, the better, right? To cover Zuckerberg's cost, okay? Day number 2, I'm like, hey, here's a sneak peek of secret number 2 during the masterclass. I'm gonna show you how to then clone your proven funnels like ClickFunnels in less than 10 minutes. I give them the hook, and I tell them about what I'm gonna talk about. During the presentation, I'm gonna show you this, I'm gonna show you this. It's gonna be amazing, you're gonna love it, okay? Don't forget to have on your calendar, don't miss it. And by the way, if you haven't yet, you should go buy the book down below. SLO again. Then email number 3, right? So these 3 emails go, and it starts teasing secret 1, secret 2, secret 3. So I'm using all these hooks to get them fired up and excited about showing up. Now it's giving me 4 opportunities to sell my SLO. Thank you page, email 1, email 2, email 3. Is that making sense? You guys getting this? Do you see how the funnel will pay for the ads if you do it correctly? Okay, all right, it's magic. It is. Okay, from there. All right, so then they go from there. Then I actually do the web class. They come on, I deliver my one-to-many presentation. I blow their minds. I do hook story, hook story, hook story, hook story, offer, replication cost, close, push them to the webinar, to the order form. Boom, they go to the order form. They then put in their information. They buy the course, and then I change their lives with the information. They pay me a lot of money, which changed my life, and everybody leaves even happier. Boom, there you go. Okay, webinar funnels, they are my favorite. There's what the order form looks like. One thing in the order forms, what people do a lot of times is a huge mistake, is they go and they try to write this huge long sales letter. Okay, they just watched a 90-minute presentation. All you need to do is to have the order form. So I do two things. I have the order form. Sometimes I'll have a video of me kind of going over the stack really quick, like, hey, thanks so much for signing. Don't forget, this is everything that's included. You're gonna get this. And I just do like a video of me doing a recap of the stack, and I have a picture of the stack slide. That's it. No more copy, no more anything. Every time I add more copy, it decreases conversions, okay? Simple. They are already there to buy. They just need you to let them know that they can buy, okay? So that's the order form. Is like very simple, very easy. That's why this funnel is so easy. A lot of other funnels, there's so much copy and there's so many things you have to do. With the webinar funnel, the copy is the 90-minute presentation. Like all I have is a hook to get someone to register. Thank you page video, like, thanks, man, buy my thing, right? And then the presentation, then order form, cool, here's where you put it in the credit card. Like, that's it. It's the most simple of all the funnels. I love it. It's the easiest to scale and to grow. You tell why I love webinar funnels so much? Okay. All right, and then order form, and there you go. All right, okay. Now let me show you what this looks like if you were to look at like in a typical week, Russell, what is this gonna look like? Okay, here's what a typical week looks like. I create my webinar registration page, and then on Monday, I promote it, I buy ads. Tuesday, I promote and buy ads. Wednesday, I promote and buy ads. Thursday, I promote it in the morning, and then I turn off my ads. Why? Because the presentation's starting on Thursday afternoon, right? So I spend 3.5 days promoting the webinar. They register for the webinar, go to the confirmation page. On confirmation page, what do I offer them? SLO, self-liquidating offer, that covers the ad spend, so I can keep driving more ads, get more and more people, so my many becomes larger, right? Then I have the indoctrination pages to get them fired up and to give them more opportunities by my self-liquidating offer. Then on Thursday, I deliver the one-to-many presentation. We call it a web class, by the way. Internally, we all call it a webinar, but guess what? Your customers don't know what a webinar is. It seems very technical, so if you ever notice when I'm promoting something, I call it a web class, okay? So they're coming on to your web class, okay? And so they register. Thursday, you do your web class, which is just your one-to-many presentation. You do it for 90 minutes. From there, you push them to the order form, okay? And what's gonna happen is your emotional buyers are gonna buy immediately, okay? That's these guys over here. Remember our friends from yesterday? Okay? Emotion logic. Your emotional buyers on Thursday are freaking out. They're like, this is amazing. And they go and they buy, okay? It's the first group of people coming through. Now, people always ask me, like, what percentage of people should be buying, okay? It depends on the conversion of your webinar, obviously. Like, how good is your webinar? For me, let's say you get, like when you transition to the stack and the close, I always look at how many people are on. So let's say I have 100 people on. If I get 5% of the people to buy my offer, so if I have 100 people on stack and close, if 5% buy, that's typically like, for most people, like a six-figure webinar. Okay? If I can get from 5% to 10%, that becomes a multiple seven-figure webinar. If I get from 10% to 15%, that's what ClickFunnels was when we launched it. So for me, that's like $1 billion offer, okay? So again, it's little tweaks, going from 5% conversion to 10 to 15, like that's kind of the window. And so that's what happens. You do the webinar, you see what happens, right? If only 5% buy, it's like, okay, that's good. How do I tweak it? What can I change? How can I make my stories better? Like, what are the little tweaks I gotta make to make it better, okay? Then on Friday, what happens, we send a replay out on Friday, right? So they can go back and they can watch it if they missed it. What's gonna happen is overnight, all these logical people, they knew they wanted it, but they're trying to convince themselves, they're nervous, they wanna go rewatch it again. People who missed it are gonna go rewatch it. Saturday, come back and I replay it again. Sometimes I'll give them cliff notes, right? And then on Sunday, we focus on our last friend right here, which is fear, okay? And then we come back and we do urgency and scarcity, okay? This page, the replay this page is coming down. Sunday at midnight, we're pulling it down. You have to buy before midnight or else you lose the opportunity, right? We tell them that. Fear's like, oh my gosh, urgency, scarcity, I gotta do it. And then fear will finally let you go buy. Emotion, logic, and fear, okay? But that's what it looks like. So you can take a screenshot of that. Like, that's what it's gonna look like. That's the blueprint. There's your business model. People ask me, what's my business model? Like, there it is. You're gonna do one-to-many presentation every Thursday. You're gonna promote every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and half of Thursday. Then you're gonna do it, execute it, show the replay Friday, replay Saturday, urgency and scarcity, close down Sunday, end the cart, and boom, that was your work week, okay? All right, you guys getting this so far? If you're understanding this, type in the comments, in the chats, type in funnels rule, let's go, funnels, okay? All right, you guys know why I'm so excited about funnels now? You guys getting this? This is why I have not been able to sleep in a decade. I keep telling everybody, funnels are the greatest thing in the world, and no one gets it. Like, this is why it's so awesome, right? Okay? I hope you guys are fired up. I am. Obviously, I'm losing my voice. I'm so excited. Okay. All right, next paradigm shift. Paradigm shift number 3, take the show on the road. This is how you go from 6 to 7 figure webinar to a multi-bajillion dollar webinar, okay? I don't want to say that because I don't want, there's no income claim, so I made up a fake word, but this is how you scale a webinar, okay? Now, I learned this from my friend Mary Ellen Tribby, and this is one of the most powerful things. So I had heard rumors of who Mary Ellen Tribby was, and like people kept talking about her, and she was famous because, I don't know, a decade ago, she went to a company called Weiss Publishing. And they're a publishing company, they were doing like, I don't know, $8 or $9 million a year. She came in with 18 months, they went from $8 or $9 million a year to like $150 million a year. right? Then she left that company. She went over to one of the divisions of Agora called Early to Rise. At the time, they were like $6 million a year. She came in with 18 months, took from $6 million a year to like $120 million a year, right? And so I'm sitting here at this dinner with her. I'm like, okay, we're in a group with a whole bunch of marketers, a bunch of us marketeers hanging out. I'm like, that's Marielle and Tribby. She's the one that has the secret sauce I need to understand. So finally, I was like, hey, Marielle, I got a question for you. You know that thing you do? We take companies that are making like $7 or $8 million and turn them into like $120 million in like a year and a half. Like, what's the secret, right? How many of us know the secret? Like, that's a good question, right? Like, you ask good questions, you get good answers. I asked that. And she looked at me, she starts laughing. She's like, you internet marketers, you guys are so smart and you are so dumb at the same time. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, this is like, let me explain what you guys do right now inside your business. She's like, you guys do the equivalent of deciding you want to create a play, right? So the first thing you do is you hire the greatest script writers in the world to write the perfect script. Then you hire the best actors in the world. You have them learn the script, have master. You have them practice and everything to make this play the most insane play in the history of all time, right? You practice and you kill yourself till it's just perfect. Then you decide, because you live in Boise, Idaho, might as well like do the play here. So you set up a show in Boise, Idaho. You go and you buy ads and you promote it and everyone's coming. And first day, like people are lining up out the door. They're so excited. They come in. You do the play. You present it. It's a smashing success. Like comes down, standing ovation. People are freaking out. Everyone leaves that night. Next morning, you wake up, right, cool, let's write another play. And you start over again. It's like, that's what you guys keep doing. That's why you're stuck at a couple $1 million a year. It's like, all I do is I find you guys who have this amazing play that worked in Boise, Idaho, and I take it on the road. I take it from Boise to Chicago to LA to New York and over again. That's how I scale these companies. And at first I was like, that's so cool. I don't know what you mean. Like, how does that actually work? Like, what does that mean? And she's like, you guys just promote your own audience. She's like, you have to get good at figuring out a way to consistently keep filling the show every single week, okay? Now, again, I didn't understand that very well when she first told me, but for months and then a year or so, it kept running through my head, how does this work, how does this work? And then I figured it out, okay? And this is gonna be a big aha I want you guys to understand, okay? Is how you do and how you structure the webinar. Now, let me actually lead with one thing first. So, I told you guys the story the very first time I did the ClickFunnels webinar, right? I was at this at an event. There were, I can't remember, 400 or 500 people at the event. I did the first presentation, did the 1 minute presentation. We had a table rush, people bought, and everything was amazing, right? And I told you that night, I told Dylan and Todd, I'm like, we're gonna be rich. This thing's gonna go to the moon. Like, so excited, right? Now, the rest of the story, and this is the fascinating part I don't want you guys to miss, okay? The next morning, I'm checking out of the hotel. I'm coming to the lobby on the way to go get a taxi or an Uber to go to the airport, and some lady runs up to me in the hall. She's like, hey, Russell, loved your presentation. It was so cool. I wish I could have signed up for ClickFunnels, but the problem is I don't sell supplements. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you showed during the presentation all the different like supplements that people, the supplement funnels. I don't sell supplements, so I can't use that. I was like, what are you talking about? What do you do? She's like, I'm a coach. I'm like, I'm a coach too. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I have coaching funnels, I have book funnels, I have webinar funnels, coaching funnels, like funnels work for coaches too. She's like, are you serious? She got so excited, she ran back into the room, she grabbed one of her friends, she grabbed order forms, she came out, handed me 2 more of her order forms, she's like, here you go. She's like, sign this up. We had no idea that you could use funnels as a coach, like we're in. And I was like, interesting. So I took the order forms, and going back, getting the taxi or the Uber or whatever, get to the airport, I'm like, interesting. I was like, okay, for some reason, she was like, my presentation didn't explain that. So on the flight home, I opened my laptop and I was like, hey, how do I explain this? So I added in 5 or 6 slides after I show the presentation, or after I show what funnels are. I'm like, this works if you're a coach or for network marketing. And I started showing all the businesses that works for it. I showed those examples in there. I said, cool. And I saved the slides. And then the rest of the flight home, I started texting everyone I knew. I'm like, hey, I did a presentation at the event. It crushed it. Do you want to do a webinar with me this week? Do you want to do a webinar? I was texting everybody I knew. From that, I got 4 or 5 people like, yeah, I'd love to do a webinar with you. So we lined them up. So I get home, get back to Boise. The next week, I think it was like a Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember exactly what day it was. We had 2 webinars lined up. One to my own list, right? And then one to one of my friends' lists, okay? And we promoted it for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So by the time Wednesday or Thursday came up, whenever it was, we had 2 webinars real full, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So I get on the very first webinar, and I do my presentation, and that webinar is my own list, right? So it's like, it's my hot market. The people who know me the best, they should be the highest converting ones. There's probably 500 people or so who are on the webinar. I do the presentation, I smash it, I do the stack and the close, everything is perfectly, and from that we did like $30,000 in sales. I was like, that's amazing, $30,000, let's go. Okay, but then we had like 3 or 4 hours later, I do the webinar again. And luckily for me, my business partner, Todd, who's the founder, who's my co-founder of ClickFunnels, who built ClickFunnels, he went and he's just more analytical than me. I'm very much like a touchy-feely person, right? So I'm like, this felt really good. He goes and he's like, well, what's the data say? So he exported all of the comments from the presentation. And he started watching. He's like, Russell, started reading the comments. He's like, at about minute 13, because they're all timestamped, like minute 13, everyone's confused. They're all asking this question about this. I was like, what was the question? He told me. I'm like, oh, well, let me just add a slide in there to answer that question. So I added a slide in minute 13, right? And then we went back through, he's like, in minute 47, everyone's stuck about this thing. So I'm like, what's that? I'm like, oh, so we're back through and I tweaked that. And he's like, during the stack and the close, all these people aren't buying, so they don't have a product yet. I'm like, oh, crap. Well, I can throw a bonus in where it helps them to build a product. So I threw the bonus in, right? And so we're scrambling, putting things together, and then we got done. We saved the slides. I open up, and boom, within 15 minutes, I'm on another webinar presentation to my friends list, okay? So they're warm lists, but they don't know me, so it's not as good of a list. About 500 people, same audience size. I do the presentation again this time with those little tweaks in there. I do the presentation, and guess what? We didn't sell $30,000 this time. We sold $120,000 that time. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then, guess what we did? Todd went back through that presentation, exported the comments. He's like, what else can we tweak? He's like, Russell, minute 42, this is happening. Minute 13, we kept tweaking, okay? I did my next webinar, boom, converted even higher, okay? Next webinar, did it higher. And what we do every single time we do the webinar, we'd export all the questions, tweak the slides, do it again, export questions, tweak the slides, till eventually it became perfect, okay? So that's how we play this game. Now let me walk you through what this looks like, okay? This is the secret. This is how you take the show on the road. Every single week, you're buying paid ads into a new version of your webinar funnel, right? So Monday we promote it, Tuesday promote, Wednesday promote, Thursday you do the live presentation, Friday you do the replay, Saturday you have urgency and scarcity, Sunday at midnight it closes, right? We just close the curtains here in Boise, Idaho. We delete the entire funnel. We shut it down. Well, actually, you clone it first. We shut it down. That funnel's gone. Everyone who registered that funnel, the pages disappear. It's true. Urgency scarcity, we took it away. People are like, Russell, well, you're not really taking it away. Like, yeah, you are taking it away. Everyone who signed up for that thing, it's gone now, right? And then I roll out a new webinar, a new funnel, okay, with the new dates, new times. And then what happens? Monday, I buy ads. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday live presentation. Friday, show replay. Saturday, Sunday, urgency scarcity. And I close it down. Boom, and I do it again. And that's the process week after week after week after week. Okay? For me, I did the live ClickFunnels webinar, I think like 75, 78, maybe 80 times live before I ever evergreened it. Okay? This is the problem most people have. They create a 1-minute presentation, they try it once, and then they evergreen. Like, I did a presentation, it's live. Like, no. Like, you have to figure out what does the audience want. If you want to have a killer 1-to-many presentation, I keep doing it over and over and over again till I figure out the nuances, the tweaks, how to change things, how to resolve all their concerns, right? That's how you go from a 5% conversion to a 10 to a 15. 6-figure business, 7-figure business, 8-figure and beyond. Right? Is that hard? No, it's easy. I'm doing one 90-minute, I'm working for 90 minutes a week. I do 90-minute presentation, 1-to-many, I'm out. Boom, team, export the comments, let me know what things I gotta tweak for next time. All right, someone else is buying ads Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I come and do my show, go back, like, you're working for 90 minutes a week. You can do it. If I want to evergreen, that's too hard. Like, it's not that hard. You're working for 90 minutes a week, you guys. 1-to-many presentation, we're dealing with level 3 level of value, communication. Like, that's the skill set, that's all you have to master. 90 minutes a week, that's it. Don't be like, I'm going to evergreen. Like, eventually you can, but not right away, okay? Now, what happens when you do this, okay? After I did this presentation 100 times, I saw my friend Joe Lavery. He posted this on Facebook, and this goes to like, I was probably 3 or 4 months into it when he posted this. He said, Russell Brunson, I'm in awe at how good you are at webinar pitching. Watching right now, every trick in the book being used like a pro. Every slide, every section, every word crafted intentionally. The sequence, the stacked, FAQs, the video testimonials, almost every objection planned for and obliterated. The countdown timer, overwhelmingly awesome execution. I don't think I've ever seen a better presentation, bro. Okay? How in the world did I do that? How was every objection planned for and obliterated before it even came up? You guys now know. That's how we did it. That's the big secret. You guys getting this? Okay. Now, this is one of my friends, Garrett J. White. Garrett had heard me say this for not decades, but most of a decade. And then this came a couple weeks ago. He sent me this Voxer message. I want to hear in his own words what finally happened to him when he finally took my advice and started doing a paid webinar live every single week. Check this out.
Oh, man. I want to send you an audio and tell you thank you. And I'm having one of those student moments. Here's a student moment. You ready? It's a moment when you have your coach, aka mentor or leader, telling you to do something for years, and of course you don't do it. You're like, I'm not going to do it. I don't need to fucking do it, blah, blah, blah. I've heard you talk about doing a paid traffic perfect webinar every week for a year. You did it 60 to 70 times. Perfected the pitch, and off of that webinar, that pitch, you built the $100 million empire, which is ClickFunnels. I am 17 paid webinars in live in 2024 with our current offer, and we are liquidating and profitable and making money. And I'm sitting here having this moment. I'm getting prepped for another one tomorrow, and I'm watching your webinar content again. And I'm just sitting here going, dude, what kind of idiot waits this long? And yet my students do the exact same thing. So your frames work. They're incredible. And I don't see how anyone could think about automating a webinar without doing this at least 30 to 40 to 50 times. And I know my content in and out. Every week we're like twisting, adjusting, and tweaking the frames. It's no wonder your presentations are so solid. And what it's doing for me is it's allowing me to sell under a game of structure that has deep containers for all of my energy. Whereas up to this point, I just sell on energy, dude. I just sell certainty. I deliver by the bucketfuls. So on this glorious Monday, wherever you are, it might be around the world, my friend. Thank you for who you are, and thank you for what you do, and hope you're having a fantastic day.
All right, so you guys see how this game is played? Garrett finally took the advice, and boom, I've watched ever since this message. I went and watched the webinar live a bunch of times, and it has been crushing it. Like, it is so good. Every objection obliterated, every story told to break false beliefs, like flawless execution now, okay? But it came from doing this consistently, all right? Okay, paradigm shift number 4. This one's a little secret, okay? Well, you understand that it's not actually a funnel you're building. What you're building is actually Actually, I want to ruin a surprise for you. What I'm going to do, one of my friends, Andy Grace, she's in my inner circle and my Atlas group, my highest level group, pays $250,000 a year to be in this room. And she was in this room and she had this epiphany, this aha about funnels. And when she told it, we all got chills. I was like, this is one of the coolest things in the world. When you understand this, it's going to shift the frames on what you guys think funnels actually are. So check out this quick video from Andy Grace.
Really, I have been struggling a lot with this idea of a funnel since the very beginning. On a personal perspective. So, I've sold multiple hundreds of thousands of books, and I'm like, oh my gosh, of all those, 250,000 books, how many people actually read it, right? And then how many people do they finish it? And then how many people does it touch? And how many people, and it gets so small to the point where like the people who need you and the people you're impacting feel so small. And so Brian was like, well, it's kind of like the parable of the sower. Like you sprinkle the seed and some of it falls on, it's just how the universe works. Some of it's going to get choked out. Some of it's going to, spring up. Some of it's going to do these things. So I was like, okay, it's just how the universe works. I just have to make peace with this idea. And we just opened this Naked Mind Institute where we've certified 60 coaches to go and kind of do this work in the world. And I was driving back from that training. I just dropped my team off at the airport, and I was really thinking about that. And I was like, oh my gosh, even in that room, 60 people came, but like how many of them are actually going to create these businesses that do something and go somewhere in the world? And it's just going to get smaller and smaller. And there's probably only going to be like 5 of them that are like the breakout people that impact other people. And then all of a sudden, I just remembered the second part of that verse. It was like, but the seeds that actually spring up will reproduce 30, 60, 100 times. And so all of a sudden I saw that it's not a funnel, it's an hourglass. And I wanted to share that because that's what Russell's doing too, right? Like there's, of all the people Russell touches, there's only a few, but then you look at the people in this room and we're the hourglass, you guys. We're the people who are like impacting. And then the next thing I wanted to share, I think, so good for me, and it's something that like I remind myself of all the time. As entrepreneurs, we are, as Alex Sharfin says, momentum-based beings. We are forward-focused. We want the next thing. We are going to the next place. And a practice that like I do, and something that just really speaks true to me, is this quote. And I think if we can just say this to ourselves and have the tension of wanting the next thing, but also knowing that in this moment we have arrived, in this moment we are here, in this moment our destination is in each step and each moving forward is so powerful. And sometimes when you just get stressed and thinking about the next thing, just remember, like, we've already arrived, you guys, we're already here. This is the stuff.
All right, so cool. Let's give Annie a round of applause. That was worth it. Type in hourglass in the comments, hourglass, because you guys are the hourglass, right? I think about how many people we promoted this event to, right? Millions, tens of millions, right? And boom, boom, boom. You guys are the ones who showed up here. You guys are the ones who are still here on day number 2, who are still participating, who are still part of this, right? That's the power of this, you guys. You guys are the hourglass. You're gonna have the ability to change people's lives because of this. And same thing's true for you. You're gonna launch these funnels out there. People can come and watch your one-to-many presentation. You get 5%, 10% of people to go and buy the thing. And from there, you're gonna change people's lives, and it's gonna be the most fulfilling, most rewarding thing you've ever done. Like, it's really exciting. Okay, really quick, like I mentioned earlier, there are 3 funnels that are the best funnels for doing one-to-many selling presentation, right? We just talked about a webinar funnel. You guys hopefully understand that now pretty well. I'm gonna quickly go through the other ones, but they're all very similar, so I'm not gonna spend as much time on those. The next one is a free challenge funnel, okay? What is a free challenge funnel? You guys have seen these, we do them all the time, right? One that we did recently was called the Think and Grow Challenge, and this was like a Napoleon Hill challenge, right? So people came and they registered for the challenge, that was page number 1, and then what happened after they registered page number 1? Who has an idea what happened to page number 2? We had a thank you page, we thanked them for registering, and then we made them a offer, hook story offer, self-liquidating offer. Okay, it was a $47 offer. We made it right here for a VIP all access pass. After they bought that, if they bought it, then there was an upsell for a $1,000 offer, right, to help self-liquidate the offer, and that took them to a thank you page. Then they went through the challenge, right? It was a 3-day challenge, day 1, day 2, day 3. What did I teach you in those 3 days? Oh, I probably taught the perfect webinar, right? Day number 1, an intro and origin story, and internal false beliefs. Day number 2, external false beliefs, and the stack and the close. And day number 3 was a logical repitch, okay? Boom, that's what happened there. At the end of that, then I made an offer. On day number 2, I made an offer for a $497 product called Core Secrets. And then from there was an upsell, and that was what a free challenge funnel looks like, okay? Very similar to the webinar funnel. The only big difference is that the one-to-many presentation isn't happening in 90 minutes. It's happening in 3 days. Okay. Now, people always ask me, what's better, webinar or challenge? I love them both, but I love learning on a webinar because it's easier for me to take that webinar, like Monday to Sunday, and to replicate it, and keep doing it until I perfect the presentation, right? Here, it's harder because instead of working 90 minutes a day, now I'm working for 3 hours a day. It's just, it's harder to work 3 hours a week versus 90 minutes. So, but for me, it's easier to cut your teeth and to learn and to master it on a webinar funnel. After you've done that, you got really good at it, then transitioning to a challenge funnel, or also doing a challenge funnel is a great way to do it, right? Same framework, but I'm gonna tell longer stories, okay? So that's kind of what a challenge funnel looks like, okay? And then the third type of funnel is the live event funnel, okay? Now, a live event funnel, this is what it looks like. You register for live event funnel, right? It's a paid event. Someone paid, you guys all paid money to be in this one, right? Right now, you guys are in the middle of a funnel, which is kind of fun. So you came here, you paid $100 for a ticket. Then we upsold it VIP tickets, okay? From there, you were then taken to a thank you page to get you guys on the event. And now from there, there's a 3-day event. Day number 1 was all about one-to-many sales presentations. Day number 2 is all about virtual stages and getting a crowd of your dream customers. Tomorrow's gonna be all about advanced sales and persuasion, right? So there's a 3-day event. And what happens after that? Well, I can't tell you yet. It's a secret. But just know, as you probably know at this point, you are in the middle of one of Russell's funnels right now, right? I'm doing a one-to-many presentation. I'm having the time of my life, having so much fun. What am I doing? If you look at the structure of everything up to this point, it's just been the perfect webinar, right? I've been taking you guys through this process. It's really, really fun. All right. How many of you guys have had 1 or 2 or 3 ahas in this last session? If you have, give me your ahas over there. Ah, okay, I love it. Right. So that was session number 6, building your own stages. Now, what we were going to do is we're going to go and do a breakout room and workshop. I want to keep moving because I have one more cool thing that is going to blow your mind. I want to give you before lunch. You guys cool if I give you one more thing that's going to blow your mind? You guys cool with that? Okay, again, up to this point, what have we done? We talked about level 10 offer, right? We talked about one-to-many sales presentation. Now you guys know exactly how to plug it into a virtual funnel, right? Your virtual stage. And then from now, you guys have the core things you need to get the 2 commas worth of impact. Okay. Now, the biggest question I get after this, after I show this, people are always asking, like, how do I get the traffic? How do I get the leads? Like, you can buy ads, which is a huge, great strategy. How many of us would also like to learn how to get ads for free and traffic for free? Okay. All right. Now, real quick, both are good. I like paid ads, I like free ads, I like both of them, okay? But I want to give you guys something really, really cool. I got a special guest that's going to come on stage right now and actually show you guys a way where you can get free traffic coming into your funnels by using this thing called the perfect, I don't know, it's this script that's really good, and you're going to learn about it. To kind of set this up, though, what we're going to do is we're going to open up one more, we're going to open another thing real quick. You guys cool with that? We open another place to hang out with Russell. That way, during this next session, you can drop new ahas based on this new thing. So you can go to hangoutrussell.com. We'll pull it up right here. The session is called Creating a Starving Crowd. I'm assuming we got it here. And boom, there it is. Aha moments for creating a starving crowd. This is where we're going to be posting it. So post all your ahas in here as they're coming in as quick as you can, because this session is going to blow your mind. I think you're going to see this and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how powerful this whole perfect webinar thing might be, right? Okay, so session number 7 is called Creating a Starving Crowd. Now, the reason why I titled this session Creating a Starving Crowd is because this guy right here. How many of you guys know who Gary Halbert is? Gary Halbert, his nickname is the Prince of Print. He is one of the greatest marketing minds of all time. I had a chance before Gary passed away, when I first started my journey 20 whatever years ago, to actually do an interview with him. I had him on the phone. I could ask him Q&A. It was like the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, this guy's like the Michael Jordan of marketing. Like, him and Dan Kennedy are like best friends. They used to like compete writing copy back and forth. Like, and one of the greatest people in the world. And I was watching this old seminar with him. And it was really cool. And during this seminar, he sat down and he asked everyone, he asked everyone in the audience, he said, hey, if you wanted to compete with me, and we're both selling hot dogs, right? And you could have any strategic advantage you wanted on the planet. You pick any strategic advantage. I guarantee you, if you gave me just one, I could beat you. So what strategic advantage do you guys want? So everyone in the audience is fighting like, well, I want organic hot dogs. I want to be able to have foot-long hot dogs. I want to be able to have, water. I want to have everyone had all these different things they wanted to have to be able to outsell him. He said, I'll give you every one of those advantages. The only thing I want is a starving crowd. If you give me that, I will beat you every day of the week. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so powerful, right? You have all this stuff, but if you got a starving crowd and they don't, that's the difference. So how do you create a starving crowd? How do you get people to come towards you, right? Yesterday I talked about this concept of a prime mover. What's a prime mover, right? Aristotle said God was the prime mover, right? And he said, what he doesn't go chase people. He sets the standard and it draws people to him, right? What you're gonna be learning about is how to do that in a way that's really, really cool, right? Where you're gonna create a starving crowd. They're gonna come to you because of the content you were putting out there and the way you're actually doing it, okay? Now, the person I'm gonna have introduce you to this, his name is Eric Thane. Some of you guys may have heard of Eric before. He, the very first time he's been in my inner circle for years, and we were in Mexico, and I learned what he was doing. I had to give a presentation on this, and it blew people's minds. After that, I had him speak at Funnel Hacking Live. It was one of the coolest things in the world, teaching you guys a really cool, really powerful, strategic way to get people to start coming to you that's not going to cost you money. So for any of you guys who are still nervous about ads, even though I kind of destroyed that false belief earlier today, any of you guys who are still nervous about that, Eric's going to show you guys exactly how to do that. So with that said, let's put our hands together for Eric Thane!
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Oh, so cool seeing all your faces up here on the screen. Wave your hands at me so I can see you. All right. Wow, that's so cool. Man, so many of you here. So I got a lot of stuff to get through and not a lot of time, so I'm just going to jump right into it. So what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is this. How I went from 0 to 2 Comma Club in 23 months using a 60-second perfect webinar, and how you can deliver a perfect webinar to thousands of your ideal customers every day of the year. How many of you guys would like to do a webinar every single day? Yeah? And move people from getting to know you and building trust with you and then into your products and into your funnels. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. I'm also going to show you how this led to me having the most WTF truck in the world in my driveway, and we'll get to that more in a little bit. All right, so first things first, I need you to know this about me. When I first got started in this online world with online business, I was an addict. I was addicted to Facebook ads. Can anybody relate? So my very first mentor taught me how to create Facebook ads and how to build a funnel and book calls with people and get things going and do all that stuff using Facebook ads. And so I started doing that. I had some success with it. It was going really well. And I just kept doing that over and over and over and over again. And I remember through that entire process, it was working out really well. But the problem with Facebook ads is that they're expensive and it costs money. And it's always taking a piece of your revenue that you're having to give to Mark Zuckerberg in order to make that happen. And so it's not that I didn't know how to make videos and how to make content. I actually had experience as a video producer. I produced a ton of viral videos. We actually produced over 500 million views for our clients in the past. And so I knew how to do it, but for some reason, I just couldn't bring myself to do it for myself. And you guys have a skill where you're really good at helping other people with this and you can see it so clearly, but then you just don't do it for yourself? Anybody relate? Anybody been there? Yeah, so that was me. I kept going to FHL and all these events and I would meet Russell and all these things. And I remember Russell would always say, if you publish every single day for a year, I'm convinced that you'll be financially free, that you'll find your voice, all these amazing benefits that would happen from publishing. And I remember thinking yeah, I need to do that. I need to do that. In fact, Russell, in his book, he even says, has anybody here read Traffic Secrets? Woo! Yeah. So Traffic Secrets, the very first line of the book says, there's a storm coming. Now, what's Russell talking about when he says, there's a storm coming? He's talking about this, right? Russell said, if your business is built entirely on Facebook ads, and that's all you're doing, Mark Zuckerberg, or Thanos, okay, like the Marvel villain Thanos, at some point he's going to come along, he's going to snap his fingers, he's going to change the algorithm, he's going to make a tweak, he's going to shut down accounts, something's going to happen, and your business is going to go down with it. And so I remember hearing this and going, yeah, that makes sense. I shouldn't, just be running Facebook ads. And I would go to these events and he would say it over and over and over again, yes, you need to create content. Okay, I need to do it. I need to do it. And then I just wouldn't. Has anybody here ever heard before that you should create content and that you should do it consistently, but for some reason you just can't bring yourself to do it consistently? Anybody? Raise your hands if that's you. Yeah, it's okay. I get it. And why does this happen? Well, We have all these things that get in the way of creating content. One of the big things for me was, I was like, what do I talk about? I need to make videos every day, but how am I going to come up with these topics? And I would sit down to make videos, and I would get in front of the camera and I'd start talking, but then my brain would go crazy and it would completely fog up, and I'd start thinking about the camera and like, do my clothes look good? And am I in the right place? Or like, do I smell? Or like, can my audience even smell me through the camera? Like, all these things are going through my head, and I'm thinking about anything and everything but the message that I'm trying to share with my audience. And so, yeah, do I smell? And so I didn't, I had a hard time like creating the content. And so I just kept running ads. I kept doing it. I ignored what my mentor, Russell, said to do. He told me to create the content. Sorry, I got thrown off there. Told me to create content, and I decided, you know what? I've got to do that. I've got to figure out how to do this because it's not going well. And for the first little while, it did actually go well. I got a 2 Comma Club award. I joined the 2 Comma Club X program. I got my 2 Comma Club award. I ended up joining the Inner Circle. So everything was going really well until one day, guess what happened? Oh, snap. Xanos came along. He snapped his fingers, and everything changed. Ads started skyrocketing, ad costs. Things were not going well in my business. I was sometimes paying as much as $3,000 just to book a call with a prospect, which is not sustainable. And if I'm being totally honest with you guys, I ran my business into the ground. Literally in a matter of a few months, went from millions of dollars in revenue to hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. All from this one thing. This was right around Christmas time that year. I remember that Christmas spending the whole holiday locked in a room, working constantly, didn't even see my kids. We were hanging out with my parents, and we'd go upstairs and we'd like play games with everybody, and I was putting on a face and, just trying to be present with them. And then in the evening, we would go back down to our room in the basement, and I would cry. I was so stressed. I didn't know what to do. And, I'm telling you this because some of you guys that are listening right now probably have had an experience like this. You might be experiencing it right now. Maybe there's something going on in your life where you're, not really sure how you're going to get out of this, or you're stressed, or you're like, you have this vision, you have this goal of what you want to achieve, what you want to make happen. And sometimes we get so caught up in this desire to achieve that goal that we end up neglecting the reason why we started doing it in the first place. Anybody relate? And so this was happening for me, and I knew that this wasn't sustainable and I couldn't keep going like this, and I knew I had to make a change. And so a couple weeks later, I ended up at a mastermind event with Russell, with the Inner Circle, with 2 Comma Club in Mexico. All our friends were there. We got to see people. We were learning all this amazing stuff. If I'm being totally honest with you, I couldn't really afford to be there. It was a big investment for me. And maybe some of you guys are feeling that right now. Maybe just even joining this challenge was a lot for you. Maybe you've been to an event before where you had to pay, and it was a lot. It was a lot of pressure. But you came, and you're here. And you're here right now because you know that one idea or one conversation or one tip or trick that you get could be the thing that changes everything for you. And that was what happened to me. Right here at the mastermind in Mexico, I had this crazy idea. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to shut off my Facebook ads entirely. My entire source of business that was keeping me and my team and my family alive. And I'm going to go all in on creating short form videos on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. In fact, right there at the resort, I made my very first 3 videos. Now, they weren't very good, but I walked around the resort, tried to find a place that had a nice backdrop, which admittedly that was easy to do. But more importantly, I was trying to find a place where nobody would see me doing it because I was so embarrassed to make these videos. I was so uncomfortable on camera. I was like, I just want to make sure nobody sees me making these. But I did it. I made my first 3 videos. They weren't very good, but I made them, and that's what mattered. Now, when I got home, I started publishing every single day. I started every morning. I would wake up, I would shoot a video, I would edit the video, and I would publish it online. And for the first 2 months of creating these videos, I lost followers every single day. How many of you guys would stick with something for 2 months if it was losing followers? I know people that give up after 2 weeks, right? But I didn't have another choice. I didn't have a plan B. This had to work. And so I kept going. And I started paying attention to the videos that I was producing. I went through all of my past videos, and I started looking at them and noticing that some of the videos had like, you know, a bunch of views, maybe like had 100,000 views. And I was like, that's cool. Some of the videos only had like 5,000 views. And I was like, okay, there's something going on here. And so I started paying attention to what is going on with these videos that take off, that work really well. And is there a pattern? Is there a trend that I can find that was happening in every single one of those videos that made that happen? And guess what? I found a pattern. I found out, wow, all these videos have this thing in common. And then sometimes I would be like, oh, I'm gonna be creative with the video, and I would try something different because like we're entrepreneurs, and so when something works, we just go do something different, right? And so I would go do something different and the video would flop. And I'm like, okay, back to, you know, the same process that I know works. I would go do it and it would work. And so it was this framework, this process that I learned to follow in every single one of my videos. It's this crazy thing that's so revolutionary that nobody's ever heard of before. It's wild. You guys aren't gonna believe what I'm about to show you right now. You guys wanna see the framework? Yes! Let me see some yeses in the chat. Let's go. Okay, so it goes like this. It starts with a hook, then a story. Are we getting it? Then 3 secrets, and an offer. Does this sound familiar to anybody out there? Like, is this the thing that we've been talking about for the last day and a half today? Okay, so it's basically like a 60-second perfect webinar. It's like a little mini perfect webinar. Okay, you've already seen how you can use the perfect webinar in a webinar, in a challenge, in an event. You can use it in a lot of different ways. It's a framework that you can use in different time frames, in different ways. But what if I told you that I broke Russell's perfect webinar down into 60 seconds so you guys can deliver a perfect webinar to your audience every day? Would that be cool? Yeah. All right. So that was what I figured out. And like I said, I was publishing every single day. When I figured this out, I noticed that this was working. I started going all in on this strategy, and it worked. And guess what happened? Well, the next 2 months, things went flat. All right. So this graph shows how many followers and how many unfollowers. So for the first 2 months, I was actually losing more followers than I was gaining. For the second 2 months, it went like net zero. I was gaining and losing the same number of followers every single day. I'm like, okay, we're making progress. Things are happening. And sometime around the middle of month 5, this happened. In a matter of a couple of weeks, I went from net zero to gaining hundreds of followers per day. And I kept going, and by day 365, I did it, Russell, I completed the challenge. I ended up with over 100,000 followers on Instagram. I was getting as much as 1,000 followers per day, and my accounts are reaching 500,000 to 600,000 people every single month. You guys know the Instagram app where you open it up, you hit the little heart button, and it shows you your notifications? I remember I would pull that up, and I would scroll all the way down to the bottom to where it wouldn't scroll anymore, and that would be an hour ago of followers. Isn't that wild? Now, the followers are cool, the reach is cool, like that's all awesome, and I love that happened, but there are actually some more interesting things that happened as well. Do you guys remember the mastermind that I told you that I was at in Mexico, you know, the year before? Well, the next year I ended up at the exact same mastermind, except this year I was one of the speakers at the event, and I was sharing with the audience this amazing strategy that I figured out and how it worked. From there, Russell saw me speak, saw me teach this framework, and he was like, dude, that's amazing. Obviously, because it's a perfect webinar, super cool. He's like, I want you to come and shoot perfect webinars for me. So I started making perfect webinars for the GOAT of perfect webinars. Can you imagine that? Crazy. A few months later, I ended up on stage at FHL teaching this process to everybody there. Got to talk in front of 5,000 people. It was amazing. Started a production company, started working with amazing people, spoke at virtual events all around the world, consulted with companies like Canva, got to meet all these amazing people. I got to launch my book to 5,000 people, so I got a brand new book that came out, Create, Don't Capture. Got to share that with the world. Started working with people like Russell and Eileen Wilder and Pedro and like all these amazing people, and grew this production company to 7 figures in annual recurring revenue. All of this happened because of the 60-second perfect webinar. And so in just under 23 months, I reached the 2 Comma Club completely from organic content. But you want to know the best part? Because that's all cool, that's all fun, right? You know what is the coolest part? My favorite part is that I haven't given a single dime to Mark Zuckerberg in that time. Now, to put this into perspective for you, prior to doing this, I was spending between $40,000 and $50,000 a month on ads. So not only does this process give you an opportunity to grow your business, but it can also save you a lot of money, okay? The 60-second perfect webinar saved my business. And in a lot of ways, it didn't just save my business, it also saved my life. Remember this Christmas that I told you about where I was depressed, sad? Well, this was the next year. And this was probably one of my favorite Christmases of my entire life. So, why am I telling you this story? The reason I'm telling you this story is because the perfect webinar is the ultimate sales script. It doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter if it's free or paid. It doesn't matter if it's a webinar or a challenge or a product or a service or an agency or e-commerce. It doesn't matter. This is the ultimate sales script. Now, when you go, Russell has provided a lot of value to the internet marketing industry. I think we can all agree on that. You can't go into a room where internet marketing is being discussed and not hear Russell's name. But I believe that the perfect webinar is his greatest contribution to this space. Because it's like he says, he calls it the perfect webinar because it has gone through so many iterations and it's become a framework that works in any situation and always works. It's not just a 90-minute webinar. It's a formula that you can use anytime that you want to build trust with an audience, get them to believe in what you do, and to take action on it. How many of you guys want more trust, belief, and action in your business? Yeah? Isn't that what makes it all work? And the perfect webinar does exactly that. Now, the thing that I love about this is it's kind of like Inception. Has anybody ever seen, wave your hands at me if you've seen the movie Inception? One of my favorite movies of all time. If you haven't seen it, Inception is about this like illegal team of dream hackers where they go into people's dreams. And the idea is that they plant like the seed of an idea in their dream so that when they wake up, they go and do something that they want them to do. Okay? Now, it's all illegal and everything, and it's crazy and it's super dangerous, but they go and do that. And the perfect webinar, the 60-second perfect webinar, is kind of like Inception. It gives you a way to plant an idea in your audience's head and get them to believe that idea and then get them to take action on that idea. How many of you guys want people to like believe what you're talking about more and take action on it? Wouldn't that be amazing? This is exactly what it does. Now, it's not illegal, so that's cool. But I want you guys to promise me, before I jump into this framework, I want you to promise me that you're going to use it for good. Okay? So can you promise me? Say, I promise, Eric, in the chat. Make sure we're going to use this for good. We're going to help people with a positive message. We're going to help people do things that are going to benefit their lives using this very powerful, very dangerous framework. Okay? So if you want to know how to do it, type, tell me how in the chat. All right. Let's do this. The 60-second perfect webinar. All right, so there's 4 parts to this framework. Really simple. I'm going to go through it real quick. Number 1 is the hook. The hook is the most important part of your video. This is the first 3 seconds of the video, the first little bit of the video. This is how people determine whether they're actually going to stop and watch your video. If you think about somebody that's scrolling on Instagram or on social media, they're flipping through videos trying to decide which one of these am I going to watch? Which one am I going to give my attention to? Which one am I going to give even like a few seconds of my attention to? Because our attention spans are so low. And so as you're flipping through it, it doesn't matter if you have the most amazing content in the world, if it's hilarious, if it's super valuable, it's incredible. If you can't get somebody to stop and watch your video, nobody's going to watch it. And so you have to have a good hook. Now, there's lots of different types of hooks that you can use. There's visual hooks, kind of like what you see here. We did a video with Russell wearing a tie because most people haven't seen that, and that's immediately like, what is going on? You can have editing hooks where you do like a zoom in effect. You could say a polarizing statement. You could curiosity-based statement that gets someone to watch to the end. You can tell a compelling story. This one with Eileen, I think is a really good example. She goes, I gave birth in an elevator, right? Who doesn't want to hear that story, right? So it can be a compelling story. Name drop, you can not drop the name of a celebrity or somebody that's known in your industry and use that as an example, or talk about a recent event. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. It doesn't always have to be like a sentence like, here's the top 3 tips for doing this. That's a really good spoken hook, but just know that there's different ways of doing this. And the goal here is to get someone to stop, to pay attention, okay? Now, once you've gotten their attention, and they're like, okay, I decided I'm going to watch this video. You now have about 10 to 15 seconds to give what I call the why. You just bought yourself a little bit of time, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna take advantage of that time to drive home the point, the reason why they need to pay attention to what you're about to talk about. This is where you tell them why what you're about to say is important. Okay? Because if you just give the hook and then you go straight into the point, it's kind of like, okay, cool, I got the point. But you've learned this from Russell, and I'm sure he's talked about it, is that if you can tell a story around it first, won't they take that point so much more seriously? So they're going to understand why it's valuable. And so this is where you kind of take a step back and you give them more context. You tell a brief story, you share a quote from a book, you give a statistic or share some context, tell them the outcome of what they're going to achieve when they learn this. Because you bought yourself that 15 seconds, so take advantage of it to get people to really get emotionally invested in what you're about to say. Number 3, then, is the 3 secrets, or the content. This is where you come in with the point, the content, the main meat of the content, where you can give them 3 tips, you can share a step-by-step process, you can teach an idea, you can share the lesson for them. As you share this stuff, you want to make sure this content's really good and it's really awe-inspiring, it's an aha, it's an epiphany. And when you do that, because you've built up the hype with the hook, then you made them sit through the why, now they get it, now you drop the point, now you drop the gold nugget. And then lastly, you go into the offer or the invitation. Now, this could be follow me for more content. It could be hit the link in my bio. It could be go to this website, comment this word below, DM me a word. You invite them to take action on what you just told them. If you leave this out, it kind of feels a little bit empty. It's like, why'd you hype me up and build up this whole thing and teach me this whole thing and then not tell me what to do with this information? So this just kind of rounds out the piece of content, makes it feel really nice, it ends it on a high note, and gets your people really excited and gets them taking action. So is that cool? Do you guys like that framework? Yeah. How would you like to see some examples of what this looks like? That'd be cool? All right, let's do that. So I've got 3 examples here that I'm going to show you. One from Russell, one from me, and one from Eileen. And just notice the words at the top, the hook. It's going to show you what part of the framework it's in as we go through each of these videos. Okay, so here's the first one from Russell.
I subscribe to every email newsletter I possibly can, and I've never unsubscribed from any of them, and here's why. When I tell people to do this, first off, they always freak out. They're like, Russell, I don't want to have 100,000 emails in my inbox. But there is actually a way to do it. We don't have to deal with all of those messages, and so here's how I do it. Step number 1, I set up a new Gmail account that's just for the email newsletters I want to read. Step number 2 is I set up a separate folder for every one of the newsletters I subscribe to. That way when they send an email to the list, hits the inbox and goes directly into a folder. Then step number 3, if I want to work with that person as my Dream 100, or maybe I'm buying ads in their newsletter, before I contact them, I go to that folder, I can see all the emails they sent out recently, I can read a bunch of them, and that way when I contact them, I have information about what they're working on in their business, what they're focusing on. It makes relationships so much easier knowing what they're actually publishing. And so for you, if you've got a Dream 100 list or someone you want to work with, I highly recommend doing the same thing. Join every newsletter inside of your industry. That way you know exactly what's happening. When you contact people, you'll know exactly what to talk about with them.
All right, let's give Russell a round of applause. Amazing, Russell, so good. Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to the second one. Here we go.
I've founded multiple 7-figure businesses, and this is what my calendar looks like. You see, true productivity isn't doing more work. It's getting more output per unit of input, which actually means doing less work, but getting more done. So here's 3 things I do to get more done in less time so I can grow my business without eating up all of my time. 1, clear your mornings. Move all your meetings and other tasks to the afternoon. It's been proven that we're actually most productive in the morning because it's easier to get into a flow state. Whereas later in the day, you get tired, your energy level drops, and your willpower is lower. 2, do high leverage activities. Use your morning to do highly valuable work that moves the needle in your business. These are things like writing copy, creating content, building systems, working on the business, and making connections with other people. 3, find creative space. Every day, take an hour off. Every week, take a day off. Every month, take a week off. And every year, take a month off. By taking one step back to let your mind reset, you'll gain massive clarity on your direction so that you can come back and make 10 giant leaps forward. If you want to maximize and automate your time, I've created a list of 20 tools I use on a daily basis to automate my life so I can get more done in less time. Comment tools down below and I'll DM it to you for free.
All right, there we go. Okay, so there's another example. Yeah, you can clap for it. Okay, and then number 3, let's watch Eileen's.
I know people who are broke, but they have 1 million followers. How is this possible? Let me tell you. People can have attention, audience, and incredible engagement. However, they could be broke as a joke and ready to choke because they have not learned to monetize that audience. Completely different skill set. The one thing that needs to be created is figuring out what that audience wants to buy. You can do that by doing these 3 tips. Number 1, ask that audience, hey, what's your number 1 challenge trying to accomplish this? X, Y, Z. Then step 2, listening for all of their responses. Gather that intel. This is like a brain trust, literally telling you what they want to buy. And then number 3 is creating a package around that thing that they want to buy. Could be a mastermind, a VIP day with you. People will always pay for proximity, but mastering monetization is creating an offer around what that hungry tribe of buyers wants to buy. If you'll do this, you will not only have attention, but you will have monetization. Hey, if you're enjoying this content and you want more resources so that you can crush your communication and grow your business, comment the word success down below where my team will shoot you my best and free training.
All right, let's go, Eileen. Awesome. Okay, so you guys getting this? The hook, the story, 3 secrets, and the offer. That makes sense? Okay, so now, the cool thing about this, the offer. I want to talk about the offer part of this really quick because there's something really cool that you can do here with these offers, or these CTAs, these invitations, and this is what I call underground selling. One of my favorite strategies, and one of the things I use all the time in order to create more engagement on my posts and to make them grow faster and make it happen, is by using this strategy of asking people to comment a word down below in the comments in order to get a free resource or to join your workshop or your webinar or get right into the thing. And what happens is when you do this, basically you ask them to type that word down below. People are going to start commenting this word, and then what happens is you can set it up with like mini chat with software, or you can do it manually if there's not a lot of people, and it has it actually send them a DM with the link. And so when you do this, what happens is 2 things. Number 1 is it delivers the link right to them. Okay, so it's like this concierge service. Like, it's not like I'm going to make you go into my bio and find the link and try to figure out where it's at, where you're going to lose a lot of people. It's just like they write a comment and then immediately they get a notification that says, go check this thing out right here. And you have there's a message with it with you. You can pre-frame it. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. You can create a conversation with them. You can ask them questions about it. What did you think about it? How did it go? And it opens up all these conversations, which is amazing. And so you can get a ton of people doing that. But the second thing that's really amazing about this is that what it does is it creates extra engagement on your videos. And so sometimes these videos that I've made have become some of my best performing videos of all of them because they get so much engagement. They have so many people commenting and wanting this thing, which means the algorithm then feeds it to more people and you get all these people wanting this free thing. And I've had in some situations, and this one here, you can see I've had 500 people that will join my email list from one video. I've had as much as 1,000 or even 1,500 people added to my email list with one video. How many of you guys would like to increase your email list by 1,000 people by making one video? That'd be cool? Yeah. So really, really powerful. Now, when it comes to Eileen, so Eileen has been doing this for about a year, almost a year and a half now. It's amazing. Like, she started making these 60-second perfect webinar videos. And previously, before we started working together, she was making just kind of like regular content, just kind of off the cuff, just making stuff. The quality of the videos wasn't super high. It was a little bit sporadic in how she was creating content. And then she started making 60-second perfect webinars. Her very first one that she did got over 30,000 views in like 24 hours. She was able to grow to over 130,000 followers on Instagram. And now Eileen has videos that are getting hundreds of thousands and even millions of views from running this process consistently. In fact, she even recently got followed by Pink, which I thought was really funny and kind of cool. And I don't know what that's going to do for her, but it's just kind of cool to know that when you do this, there's the people that are watching you, right? The people that are paying attention when you're able to get out there. And this also extends to ads. So is anybody in the audience running ads right now or planning on running ads to grow your business? Well, guess what? When you create content like this, it allows you to see, oh, this is the content that's performing really well. These are the hooks and the angles that people are really interested in, and to take those and to run them as ads. So you're not spending a bunch of money trying to experiment on what's going to work. The second thing is that when you take those videos and you run them as ads, you're building this warm audience. So when you run the ads, you're running it to more warm traffic instead of cold traffic, which means that the ads perform better and they don't cost you as much. So Eileen has been taking these videos
and she's been running them as ads. And this is one of her ads that came from this video. This ad has been running for more than 1.5 years profitably. If you guys know the ads game, the typical shelf life for an ad is like 2 weeks. And this ad is crushing it. Why? Because it was proven before we ran it as an ad that people liked it, that they resonated with the hook or the angle. Is that cool? Yeah. All right, guys, so there you go. That is the 60-second perfect webinar framework. And now I want to give you a little bit of a challenge, okay? I want to challenge you to go out today or this weekend, sometime after this event, and go create your first 60-second perfect webinar. Just like mine was. It doesn't have to be good. If you're worried about it, I'm not going to get it perfect. That's totally fine. Just do the first one. Get it done, follow the framework, choose a topic, go through the framework, build it all out, record the video, and publish it online. The first step is always going to be the most important. And then make sure you tag me at Eric Thane because I like seeing these and commenting on them and helping you guys boost them in the algorithm as well. But you just have to do it because like Zig Ziglar says, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. And like I always say, consistency is the enemy of failure. So does that sound good? Everybody say, I accept. If you accept, and you're going to do this challenge. All right. Now, about that WTF truck. So, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before, but these started kind of popping up on the roads recently. And this is the Cybertruck that was created by Tesla and Elon Musk. And I remember about 5 years ago, this thing rolled onto stage as Elon Musk announced this new thing that he was building. And it got a lot of hate, it got a lot of praise. There was a lot of people that liked it, a lot of people that didn't like it. He ended up cracking the windows on stage, which was really embarrassing. But for me personally, the moment I saw this thing roll on stage, I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I gotta have one of those. And so I went to the website, they announced it, they're like, go get it right now. And they were accepting a $100 refundable deposit, okay, to get into this thing. And so I'm so excited about getting this truck. And I was like, I'm gonna get one, I'm gonna do this, it's amazing. Until I started thinking about my bank account. And I was like, well, shoot, like, can I even afford this thing? And I remember hemming and hawing over a $100 refundable deposit, thinking like, should I do this or not? And luckily my wife like kind of shook me. She's like, dude, it's $100. Like, just do it and then you'll have the option. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll do that. So I put down the $100 and I knew that like, you know what? It was refundable. So if I didn't want it, that was fine. And plus I was going to have a few years before they were going to come out anyway. And so I sat down, I decided, you know what? I want this thing. I made this decision, I set the goal, this is what I'm going for. And for the next 5 years, a little 1/18 scale model of the truck sat on my desk in front of my monitor, reminding me of this goal. And I remember going through, launching funnels and launching offers and doing these 60-second perfect webinars and doing all this stuff. And whenever I was having a hard time or I was struggling or anything, I would see that sitting on my desk and I'd go, okay, you know what, I'm gonna keep going. I got this, like this is the goal, I'm gonna make this happen. And so there was one point where, it came earlier this year when they started actually shipping the trucks and it was happening, it was time. And I got an email that said, hey, it's time for you to order your truck. And I was like, shoot, things had gone really well. And I told you the whole story of like what had happened. Things were going really well. Like we were doing a lot better, but I still didn't feel really comfortable about making that investment. And so I was a little bit worried. I was like, I don't know if I should do this. And I was talking to my wife about it. And she's like, well, why don't you just go and do what you know how to do and go create some 60-second perfect webinars. We'll promote a workshop, a challenge. We'll run that and we'll see if we can hit our goal. And so we decided, you know what? We're going to go and we're going to run this challenge. We're going to make these videos. We're going to do it. If we can get 50 people to buy this program, then we can buy a Cybertruck. And I was like, okay, that's a great goal. Let's go. And so we started making the videos. We started publishing. We started talking about this thing that was coming up. We had the videos that were going out every single day talking about, following the 60-second framework, right? Then they were moving people into the workshop. And so the people are joining the workshop and getting in and everything. And then on the workshop, we ended up pitching the offer. And we pitched the offer. And then I sent emails. The videos, what were these videos? A perfect webinar. The workshop, what was the workshop? A perfect webinar. The sales emails that came out after, taking people through the process, what were they? A perfect webinar. Are you guys getting the point? This is the framework that you use. So we just did perfect webinar after perfect webinar after perfect webinar to launch this entire product. And it went crazy. It started working really well. Things were happening. And we ended up the launch pushing as hard as we could. We're going to get this done with 46 sales. we failed. And I was like, I worked so hard and I tried to make it happen. And luckily for me, I'm married to an awesome wife. And she shook me one more time. And she's like, Eric, why don't we just do it again? I was like, oh yeah, I guess we could do that, right? So we did an encore of the workshop. We did it again. We went through, we took people through the recordings and made it amazing. And on that encore, we sent out a few emails about it. We got 10 more sales, which means we ended up with a total of 56 sales. And I got my Cybertruck. So that is how the most WTF truck in the world ended up in my driveway. Now, you may not want a Cybertruck. That's totally fine. But what do you want? Maybe it's a dream vacation. Maybe it's an experience with your family, with your kids. Maybe it's a new house. Maybe it's another car. Whatever it is that you want, I just want you to know this. I'm going to bring back another Zig Ziglar quote. He says, you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. And that is exactly what the Perfect Webinar does. Thank you guys so much for having me here. This has been amazing. You guys are awesome. Go make your 60-second Perfect Webinars, and I can't wait to see them. All right, we'll see you later.